when knowledge reigns supreme. Calm and collected, I'm about to go live, you know what I mean. Got high expectations, gonna teach you something new. Learning, hacking, exploring, there's so much we can do. Excitement as we dive into uncharted lands. New discoveries await in this digital wonderland. Together we'll unravel the secrets, unlock the code. No limits, no boundaries, all knowledge will explode. Welcome to my stream where the fire of knowledge burns bright. Chat with me, let's embark on this journey of delight. From the basics to superpowers, we'll learn and grow in this stream of knowledge. Together we'll grow.
Connected to channel Fix at 42. Fixerbot says.
Welcome. Stream starts in 5 minutes. T-4 minutes.
Welcome to my stream, where knowledge reigns supreme. Calm and collected, I'm about to go live, you know what I mean. Got high expectations, gonna teach you something new. Learning, hacking, exploring, there's so much we can do. Feel the excitement as we dive into uncharted lands. New discoveries await in this digital wonderland. Together we'll unravel the secrets, unlock the code. No limits, no boundaries, all knowledge will explode. Welcome to my stream where the fire of knowledge burns bright. Chat with me, let's embark on this journey of delight. From the basics to superpowers, we'll learn and grow in this stream of knowledge. Together we'll grow. Welcome to my stream, where knowledge reigns supreme. Calm and collected, I'm about to go live, you know what I mean. Got high expectations, gonna teach you something new. Learning, hacking, exploring, there's so much we can do. Feel the excitement as we dive into uncharted lands. New discoveries await in this digital wonderland. Together we'll unravel the secrets, unlock the code. No limits, no boundaries, all knowledge will explode. Welcome to my stream where the fire of knowledge burns bright. Chat with me, let's embark on this journey.
Stream about to start. 1 minute left.
Superpowers, we'll learn and grow in this stream of knowledge. Together we'll grow.
So first, say I'm sorry for no stream yesterday. I told you last stream that I had a meeting yesterday, but I thought I would be streaming still. But today is my youngest 14th birthday, so I went shopping yesterday because he didn't ask for anything. So finally, I just had to go like buy some random stuff, a bit of clothes, a bit of like fidget thingy toys that he has by his computer, things like that. Yeah, just random stuff. He felt stressed about selecting something, so I'll actually close the door. Although I can feel the temperature going up here. It's currently 28.9, but outside the window the sun is shining, and I have pulled down my like black curtain here, and outside is 50 degrees on the roof, so the heat is kind of like beaming into the room, even though I pulled stuff down to try and block it. It's no way I'm opening the window now because it will be 40 degrees in here. So still kind of warm. We'll see. Maybe I'll have to turn the fan on. But then we have the filter, but I do sound very odd with the filter on, right? The audio is like odd. The frequency is removed. So yesterday, and actually the day before too, because this was 2 days ago, I noticed this being online on Twitch. So I hopped in there, I think like it was just before there. Let's see, here's the countdown for the... So I probably hopped in here somewhere, and I was like, oh, what's this? Interesting, let's look at this. And then they said also that you can get like a certificate thingy from doing it, but I'm not sure if that's just for people needing to maintain certificates or if it's just like for anybody. We'll see. Anyway, it's like mainly blue team, but this bit here is it's about, as you can see, bypassing antivirus and stuff. So interesting. Yeah, lots of interesting stuff and things I haven't really learned about. The first bit here is mostly just like chatting, and then let's see, somewhere here he starts, and let's see, so I'm currently at 153, so let's hop back a bit here. I asked them also if I could stream this, and it was okay, so I've got approval to do it here. So getting started in security. And what happened?
We're not going to dig super deep, but
okay,
take
so
over a class for like 500 people
maybe
next week. It'll be awesome.
Loud too. Anyway, so let's see. I didn't read all of their slides in the start because I was actually listening while I was doing other things. I don't think he said like everything on the slides. Well, yeah, so he was talking about this page where they had Excel files, and I think I have it up. Let's see. So many links open from this. Yeah, this is it. Audit scripts. And apparently, let's see, I think I downloaded it. We can see if my Excel works. I don't use it ever. It did start. I better click this to be able to even click stuff, right? Yeah, so apparently you click here and you select stuff, and then you can like create a policy for your company and check where you're at, like security wise. And that's kind of interesting, you know? Implementation, and also then. Anyway, this audit script apparently it like merges different ones. I do have some notes. Let's see. It's not a lot. I didn't start my phone. I was like, first birthday celebration for my 14th year. We always sing in the morning. And then I was driving my hubby to pick up his car at the car mechanic. So that's why I was late today. Not just the birthday. So I'm just putting my temp here. Let's see, it's kind of stuck there. Oh, I think you can actually see it, right? So 48.8 now outside and 29 inside. We'll see what happens. It'll probably go up inside and I might need a fan. We'll see if I can survive without it. There, so now I should be able to switch screens. Yeah, so audit tools take frameworks and optimize. So yeah, so it's like merges different frameworks into this list where you can check and based on actual attacks and things that matter instead of just being random rules or whatever. Help develop policies and document how to implement it, review and audit. So that's kind of the thing there. Yeah, and it was talking about like might have been more like a butter knife, and if you try to use that as a screwdriver it doesn't really work very well. And some people saying it was even a Swiss army knife instead of even a screwdriver. But there's an index of common attacks. Yeah, let's stay on the notes. That's what I've done so far. Yeah, so this is actually a header here. So let's make it one. Application allow listing is the section of it we're actually still on. So instead of deny listening, it's kind of obvious, right? Why we want to allow the things that we actually use instead of just denying what we think is bad. If it's not obvious for someone, there could be a million new things we don't have in our line list, right? So, and also the different money, the number of things are much more there. And then he started with examples of how you can bypass a deny list, and that's where I'm at right now. So I'm thinking we'll just go back a few slides in the presentation and listen to the actual video. And usually I never watch videos, but I want to finish this. It's the third day today then, and it's my kid's birthday, so I'll probably miss, if not all, most of it, and I'll have to do it afterwards anyway. So I don't have infinite amounts of time, so I thought I'll have to do it on stream to catch up. Because I want to go through it while it's actually running, and then you can ask questions if you have any questions and things easily. So today I think it starts at 18 my time probably. So it's 4 hours today and 4 hours tomorrow too. If anyone wants to hop in, you can still get also yeah, you can get into the if you go to their web page here, Antisyphon training. So these are, let's see, these are not the free ones. They have these pay what you can ones. Yeah, this is the one. Register for live training. So this is the link here. Let's send it in chat. So this link is for, I'm doing both here.
Fixit says.
So it will
Web
be
link. Fixerbot says.
YouTube message from Fixit42
it'll
Live.
not be
Web
live,
link.
so I don't have to hop past it. It was reading all the link I would. Anyway, as you can see here, there's the times and they had it like 1 hour of like people installing the virtual machine, because there's a virtual machine too. And I've downloaded the image, but I haven't set it up. So yeah, 17 gigabytes. It's kind of big. We could actually do that now. And this is the only hard drive where I have any kind of space, so that's why this is where it is. Now I have 3 hard drives with virtual machines on them. And again, I spell it, my fingers, I would like to say, spelled with an S. Anyway, this is just a note that all usernames and passwords are ADHD. They say it on the download page. I don't think anything of this is secret, so but we can hop into here. And yeah, there are the Obsidian backup. And they were like explicit saying, yes, unpack this with 7-zip, that's important. I'm like, what level is this? But there's lots of new info for me, as it's very like blue team. Yeah, let's do this, and we'll see if it adds a directory. Then I'll have to remove it again. No, this will be good. That's okay. The name 423 is just the time, you know. I guess that's when they made this one. So if they make a new version, we'll know. They said like the first thing you should do is to turn off updates. And make a snapshot of it. So let's actually also so I don't have my regular VM running or anything. I'm starting VMware here. Oh, I have actually my second OBS running. I don't need that. So let's see, this one we can close again, so we don't have stuff open we don't need. I don't have to have. Alright, I was searching here in my mail. So today is the 12th, of course. I have some things I need to do more. Yeah, so I have my mail up, just casting a quick eye on it before I close it there, so it's closed too. What else do I have that I don't need? I think it's all cleaned up now. Just my screenshot program here from making the screenshots. And we have let's see, no, it's still extracting, so we'll have to wait for the full extraction here before we can actually open it, because we don't want to like break it before even starting. So that'll have to extract. It'll take some time, and I hope that my hard drive has enough space. So let's actually see. So it should be safe, 346 gigs anyway. Also, this is 184, so it's red though because it's kind of bigger. But that's also the server. And then we have 60, 26, and 33. Oh my. I've been thinking about buying a 20 gig one, but it would be like, if I lose all the data, you know, it's lots of data. But lots of this is just saved streams and courses that are, you know, not my original things. I have backup of like photos of my kids, programming I've done, things like that, like, or not anywhere else. You don't need backups of things that are available online, though. I have like same streams. Let's see if this is the one that that's just my stuff. Yeah, so this will probably just go away when I upload stuff to YouTube, because I won't save it locally. I think that it's not worth the space. If for some reason that YouTube channel would go bye-bye, I would like cry for 2 seconds and continue on, you know. So here we have, these are like things I don't want to get rid of because I don't think he's uploaded. So I've saved streams so that I want to watch that I haven't watched, and things I want to rewatch. And now he's not streaming so much, so I'll watch these. I think I'll go through them all, and there are others too. So I know that I think Siren uploads her stuff. So, but there are other things that I have downloaded and just recorded that I don't think it's available. But at least if things are available online, I don't need to save it locally. So it's not halfway yet. Oh, everything closed. That's what happens when you like drag windows around sometimes. Kinda annoying. Have to open all the things again. There. So yeah, I sent the link to chat, and I'm going to continue with this one. And I think all of these here are links from this. So they've sent this link. I have this one in the notes. Yeah, and this is their tips too. I don't know what this was. Oh, this was a store. They all had like these kind of clothes on them. Yeah, so I can just close this one. It's just a t-shirts and stuff. And at first I thought he had his screen mirrored, but then I noticed that in the store they were also mirrored. So they are actually that way. Packets, gotta capture them. Oh, with the Pokemon font. That's a bit funny. So apparently a lot of people seem to be interested in those things. Well, I'm not. Yeah, so this was the same link again. I don't have to have a million of them up. Yeah, they also sent this one. I have this one, of course, but yeah, let's add it to my more. Because it's not a box to finish, but it is something that I do want to do. This is someone they said you should watch this stuff and connect on LinkedIn and stuff. Oh, the same link again. And these cost money, and I don't have that economy to be, because it wasn't that cheap. Let's just look at what first thing here. Yeah, so no, so this is a free one, or one that where you can decide what to pay. Yeah, okay. So it's the on-demand ones that I meant. If you can pay like whatever you can. But if you would like to look at something else, let's see, what did they have that sounded interesting? Like reporting for Pentester. Not that we couldn't find this anywhere else, but if we wanted to see there, of course. Let's see, it is... this one is 105 USD, but most of them, that's because it was short, I think. So just if I click just the first one here, it's 225. Anyway, that's 2,000 Swedish crowns. That's very, expensive for me with no income currently. 575. Yeah, this is the usual price for all of them, I think. And this is so much money, when you don't have any money. So I need to get a job, right? A better job. I have one where I have to go there, and since I don't work a lot of hours on it because of I need to be home available for my kids a lot, I can't. And I work as a consultant then. So, but this is a great model, and this also means that if when I get more money again, I can pay afterwards that for something if they have helped me, you know. So that's how I do. Like think with some books too. Might maybe you find a free version online, and then you can pay afterwards when you can when you can afford it. I have lots of books. I've bought lots of stuff and like normal movies and DVDs before. But right now my economy isn't that good. So these are also links that they sent. So these are the same again. Yes, several people sent the same link. And here we have day 2. Yeah. So let's see, where is the first one over here? Day 1. So this is day 2. And I just added more links afterwards. Oh, so this is Discord link. So yeah. So interesting. Yeah. Yeah, someone just sent a link to Bloodhound. I thought, well, why not? I decided I have to learn it, really. So let's look at that repo too later. And what was this? They sent this link to. So let's get started really with this, and I will have my notes up on my other screen, and we will go back a bit from where I was. So here's where they start with the application allow listing, and I'm not going to. Yeah, this is what I had in my notes. So this is an example. They call it ghost writing to just edit a few commands in the assembler. So I actually cut out. That was kind of funny that he had like an explanation of what XOR is, and then what they added was a push and a pop of before the XOR. So it wasn't really the XOR. So it was the thing anyway, and he kind of said he didn't understand the assembler. So anyway, so that was this first example of how to bypass the denial listing. I just simply edited a bit. But smart systems, someone said in chat, they will just find these kind of tiny differences, and this is the. Obviously, the slides are kind of old because let's see if we can hop to there. Yeah, so MSF payload is not MSF venom. I don't know when that changed. I never heard of MSF payload before. It's before my time, which is 1 year kind of. So I just cut out the important bits here. And don't panic. This was like, oh, it's assembler, don't panic. Yeah, he had a kind of long explanation of what XOR is. And then it didn't relate to that. So, quickly back to the notes. So this is what he did. I'll have to look into if these still work, if they're old too. But they used Ruby apparently here. They first linked it somehow here. So I don't really know what this is. Let's actually learn for now. So I'm just googling ln command in Linux. Yeah, I thought so. It's symbolic link. Symlink. So it's just a link to it. But what is -s? So this is not useful at all. It's just a link. Why do they even have that in the slides? They're just making a link to make the path easier. So I guess I'll keep it in my notes because that's probably where I don't even see why they would want to make this link. Site Ruby 1.1. Well, I don't know anything about it, Ruby. So anyway, then they run this Ruby disassemble raw binary to ASM code ASM, and then they make the changes, and then they do. Let's add actually. Make changes to ASM, right? And then we have the opposite here. Ruby Peen code. That's an odd name. So every villain is Lemons exe. Apparently that's the name they wanted for their exe. And they also did a file on it, and it was a Windows executable. So yeah, so the other example they had is lolbins. Even if you can't like exactly deny list your own operating system files, right? And lolbins is living off the land, meaning using the programs that are in there already. So that's this slide. I didn't make like any screenshots here. Let's just hop. So changes can make this not work, of course. And they're giving the tip. He mentioned sending samples, to VirusTotal, but also if you do that, they probably will be detected later. So don't do that too. But he didn't say that, but he hinted it. So Metasploit Kung Fu. Yeah, so I think we're kind of almost up to where I was here now. Yeah, this is where I was. So let's hop to the start of this slide, and I'm actually going to listen to a YouTube video. Well, I asked the VOD is the same. They have the VOD up on Twitch too. And as I said, I found this on the Twitch, on here actually, on InfoSec Streams. This is where I found it. They were online here. So let's see. They should be in the list. There. So Antisyphon is their name here on Twitch. And they also have the YouTube channel that we're at now. So they have been streaming less than all of these.
Thanks again to all the support folks.
Yes, so I started watching it here. Apparently they are available here too. 5-hour one and 4-hour one. Exactly. This very exact times, They knew their times and they hit them right there. So today there will be another one. Let's see if they've put a schedule. I don't think so. No, they didn't. These are just the ones that were. But we can see what time it was. It was 18 my time. So at 18 today there'll be another one. And it's currently 9:43, so a few hours. And I'll probably be eating cake with my birthday kid here, so that's why I felt I really need to catch up here. So, giving them a shout out there, kinda, right? Let's continue and actually watch this, and I'll continue making notes. And I hope there'll be more cool stuff. I'll probably speed it up, but you can always go back to the links. It's very obvious here too, in case you didn't see the link in the chat that I sent. So
Get a feel for how that functions.
let's listen a bit.
Yeah, just a couple more. Again, we're gonna slay deny listing with a couple more potential ways to work around it. AV bypass, encoding, and obfuscation, and really this slide's just talking about encoding was originally designed as a way to include bad characters or illegal syntax in legitimately in executable. As in many situations or instances with exploitation, it starts off as a meaningful, useful, utilitarian approach, and then it gets twisted, circumvented, hacked to be used maliciously. But because of this inherent functionality, expected functionality on one level, we can potentially change
screenshotting again. So
nature of code and then effectively bypass deny listing. And the on-screen example is again
we already have this in
using MSS Venom to create an executable using Shikata Ganai to encode the executable. Shikata Ganai is Japanese for "it cannot be helped" or "nothing can be done about it," which of course is rather poignant. And just one more example about how we can innocuously change the content of our executable code and then potentially completely circumvent deny listing for AV, EDR, etc. Not always, again, super simple, super easy. Back to the previous slide. Requires testing, requires iteration, requires some dynamism and creativity on your part, but once again, you get the idea. Excuse me. This slide is, if you're unfamiliar, introducing you to a unicorn Python script from Trusted Sec. And this is an attempt to make a utility that leverages shellcode injection into memory through a multiplicity, almost like a framework of shellcode injection for lots of different potential ways to circumvent deny listing. And you can see some of those on the screen, from HTA to certificates to etc., Cobalt Strike, etc. This is available. This is open source. I don't think it's quite as well maintained as it used to be, but just, again, another idea about how deny listing can fall flat on its face based on a multiplicity of potential options, and something as simple utilitarian as cycling through a handful of those options. Deny listing is dead. You with me? Thought so. And I know you're wondering, well, that's great. Your hopes and dreams are crushed. Your reliance on AV is all over. You probably should quit and go back to being a plumber or a graphic artist, I think someone said in the chime, which is fantastic. I always wanted to be artistic and talented, but I'm not, so here I am. What are we going to do? What's plan B? Well, plan B for this particular conversation is application allow listing. And as I mentioned moments ago, you may very well have, if you've ever tried to implement application allow listing, or formerly known as application whitelisting in an enterprise, you might quiver just a little bit. Your heart rate might go up. This is not easy. This is challenging. Sometimes it's extremely expensive. Often it just falls flat on its face in failure. I remember the first time, this was many years ago, I found this cool little security application that ran discreetly on my laptop, and it purported to catalog all of the things on my laptop in just moments and then basically create a deny list for everything else, the inverse. And so I thought, this is fantastic. This is genius. I know this laptop is clean. It has the applications I use all day, every day. I purchased this tool. I ran it on my laptop. Somewhere around 237 hours later, it finished scanning all the things. And I'm like, okay, well, that took way longer than I thought, but still a fantastic idea. I'm golden. I mean, nothing can run that wasn't heretofore identified as not poison ivy. I gloated for at least 2-3 seconds before I then tried to do something on my laptop. And immediately the tool said, I'm sorry, something changed. I need to reindex. I'm sorry, something changed. I need to reindex. I installed that shortly thereafter, but a fantastic idea, poorly implemented. So we're going to look at a better way, something simpler. I'm a huge fan, especially in active incident response, but in InfoSec in general, I'm a huge fan of the art of the possible. How can we make things better right now, or tomorrow, or next week, as opposed to these overarching, complex, expensive things that just never get done? Art of the possible, art of the attainable, art of the next best. I want to make forward progress in this. We're going to talk about a way that you can make this work, potentially in your environment, and likely get yourself 90% of the way there. Start simple, work towards complex if we need to. So we're going to start off by talking about allow listing directories. Instead of, in my previous example, scanning all the things on the entirety of my laptop, which of course are numerous, we're going to say timeout. Where should execution occur from a file system perspective, from a directory perspective? And as it turns out, on a typical Windows system, it's only a handful of directories. Program files, Windows, for example. And though it's not perfect, if we say, sorry, you don't get to execute from downloads, no execution from desktop, no execution from temporary internet directories, I'm here to tell you from an incident response perspective, that is huge. This is where executable code for initial access occurs with most of the common strains of malware that I have been encountering of late, from Raspberry Robin to Bootloader to Lemon Duck, etc., etc. This is monumental. Are there ways around it? Does this leave holes? Can you still execute content from this other directory? Absolutely. But as we'll see, at least I hope, as you will see in the next few slides and in the subsequent lab, this is attainable. This is the art of the possible and makes a difference. Fantastic place to start. Can we get more specific? Can we get more complicated? And the answer is absolutely. And you may need to, you may want to. This may be the next logical step in your progression of moving away from deny listing, frankly, continuing to use deny listing, but then using it in conjunction with the power of allow listing. And we can do the hash thing. We can define application allow listing based on hash.
I actually had a similar experience with an indexing software in the mid-1990s. Made me skeptical of tech reviews. I had paid for the software based on a review at ZDNet, IRC. Made it sound like the best thing since sliced bread, but it was worse than useless.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I can imagine that things get updated all the time and it gets annoying, right? So, it's interesting to look at things from the other side that I used to, more since I worked in IT a lot. But also security was not as big
didn't
then.
mean to interrupt, lol.
No, you're very welcome to interrupt. That's why I'm streaming, right? To talk to people. Yeah. So I'm just pausing so that we don't miss anything, right? And also we'll catch that time up again. All the information you may add, that's interesting, and that makes what makes us also remember the things, right? Yeah, let's start it again.
With the power of allow listing. And we can do the hash thing. We can define application allow listing based on hash. This is awesome. I mean, it's the ultimate specificity. We have a hash value for an executable. We're pretty sure that's actually the executable. This is not as easy.
Okay. So I'm adding a bit to the notes. Hashes of executables. Probably the one, right? I'm imagining as computing gets easier to do, it'll be easier to come up with an executable with the same hash, right? But I think it's kind of hard now, even if it's not impossible. So I'm typing in the wrong place.
This is not easy. We'll see that we can do this with App Locker. There's a feature and function that's built in, but this is a lot harder. That's why, again, we're going to suggest that you start with the former, start with the easier, get 90% there, and then potentially use this for the cases that just don't fit nicely and neatly into the previous directory approach. You have a couple additional components. We have some additional options. Can we see that on the slide? Not really. We'll come back to that. In addition to directory, in addition to hash, you have a couple other tools in your arsenal when it comes to AppLocker. Specifically, we can identify allow listing via digital search and publisher verification. This gives us some flexibility. Having worked in enterprise IT for a long time, healthcare in particular, it's shocking to me how many applications are poorly developed, poorly published, poorly written. They require some flexibility. You cannot assume necessarily that the cert will align, that the publisher will align. So you want to implement this with care and caution depending on your environment, but it gives us an additional feature, additional function. Let's say we go with the directory structure approach from a couple slides ago and we say no code execution from desktop. Sadly, your enterprise uses an executable for an application that was custom developed and it runs as an executable from desktop, or uses temp directory components or what have you. Then potentially this is a workaround that at least can combine with your directory and or hash-based rules to give you some flexibility to address those kinds of one-offs. And that's important because you will encounter one-offs, especially if you're in healthcare. Anybody in healthcare? Yeah, fun and challenging. So we're gonna step through this, and then we're gonna do a lab combined with a bit of a break. Thank you for sticking with me for this sort of lengthy section. Let's talk specifically about AppLocker. What's not to love? It's built in. It's free. You already have it at your disposal. And we've just talked about a fair amount of flexibility that's inherent to the product. Is it as capable as some other third-party best-of-breed solutions? I probably not. It's usually the answer when it comes to a built-in Windows feature function, but you have it. The barrier to entry is low. Art of the possible. Can you implement this potentially effectively in the next weeks, months in your environment? We have some flexibility, path, hash, cert, vendor, and we have a video reference for you, of course, to step through the AppLocker process. I think you'll find, though, that it's really not that horribly complicated.
Well, let's see. I think probably they sent the link in chat too, so I'll have to unpause it to get the chat up. That's how YouTube works. No? Because I'll type this, I guess. We can copy this bit, because of course you want to look at the link, right? Yeah, we have lots of things. So let's... When I want the tab next to it, I usually just do that. So I'm just going to type here. So it's watch question mark v equals 9q s p 5h 033QK. So let's see. Okay, so this was a link, and I actually typed it right there apparently. So let's, how long is this? This is an hour, so it's not like we do it load sheet now. But it's in the list here now of all the links we have from this to check out.
I think you'll find, though, that it's really not that horribly complicated. First, we're going to open local security policy commensurate with group policy in your enterprise environment. We're going to drill down into security settings, application control policies, AppLocker categorically, and then we're going to see that there are a handful of different rule categories available to us: executable, installer script, and packaged. And we'll see by default how many rules are enabled. Precisely none. So this is off. This is defanged by default, which is, I suppose, unsurprising. And we'll see, as per this slide, these are the categories we just saw on the previous slide. And if we click on each of these in turn, we right-click and we will see a series of options relating to those different categories. Those are discrete category controls, application controls.
I'm thinking maybe I should make some screenshots here, actually.
By default, we're going to see that there process, of course, to step through the AppLocker process.
Sorry.
I think you'll find, though, that it's really not that horribly complicated. First, we're going to open local security policy commensurate with group policy in your enterprise.
Yeah, so I'm making notes here. So local security, of course, policy. I'm going / group policy. So that's just the group policy, but
environment.
Local.
We're going to drill down into security settings, application control policies, AppLocker categorically. And then we're going to see that there are a handful of different rule categories available to us: executable, installers, how many rules are defanged on the previous slide. And if we click on each of these in turn, right-click, we will see a series of options relating to those different categories. Those are discrete category controls, application controls. And what we're going to do is we're going to take the easy path, the easiest path, and we're going to create default rules. We're not going to do these. These are more time-consuming. These are more onerous. Maybe you will progress to that point, but right now we're going to take the easy button, and we're going to create a set of default rules for each of these 4 categories, and then we're going to see how it works. And we're going to do it all in about 15 minutes, which is pretty cool, pretty impressive. When you enable those defaults, you're going to see 2 or 3 components under each of those categorically. And if I were you, I would double-click these and see what they say. What are they? Because it's useful to understand what you just did. And what we're going to see is a couple of different categorical settings based on all users, and then a tertiary component based on administrators. And in fact, we're going to have basically sort of a break the glass account, break the glass configuration option for administrators. So if something goes wrong, you log in as a standard user, you test your application while listening, and it's broken.
I think I'll need to mute the sound from this. This is annoying. So open main window. And also, why is it making images of them? Can't I select them all? This is annoying. So, great program, ShareX. I use it actually for getting recording audio. So that was what I had set up, but now I added a hotkey setting here. Oops, for capture region. The thing is, I don't want this to be audio. I don't want it to be sounding in. I want it to be quiet. Where do I tell it to be quiet? The size of this is horrible. I can't read anything. Can I zoom? No, of course not. I can't read anything here. Seriously? No, I'm just giving up. Because I can't see either the text here. You know, it's black on dark gray. I'd have to screenshot it and make it bigger, which is too bad. So, not on stream, definitely.
Dark gray on slightly darker gray. It's like they didn't test their interface.
Very, very much so. And very tiny too. You know, it should be adjusted to your resolution, you know. So, if I click here, no, I have to click this one to make it. So if I click this one, I think the text will go bright. But I might want to, you know, override, capture after, copy image to clipboard. So I just want to copy it to clipboard. So maybe we can do this anyway. Copy file to clipboard. No, I just want so this is the one I don't want. This is the one I want. Copy image to clipboard. There. And after upload task over right destination. What's even the text here? I can't even click it. It's this. So what about the audio? Okay, so we'll have to Google to find how to. It's annoying enough to actually do it now. So make ShareX quiet. Recorded audio is way too quiet. Audio is very silent. How do I turn off ShareX sounds? Okay. So let's actually click this one. Play sound after capture is made. Click on task settings, general notifications. General notifications. Oh yeah, so we're looking for what? Play sound after capture is made. So now we have a simple thing to try and see. I think it's the top one. But I can't click it. So general, override general settings. No, there. So when the settings are disabled, that's when you can't see them. But that's very annoying because then you don't know if that's what you want to do. So, play sound after task is completed. I didn't notice that, so I don't mind it. Custom capture sound. Let's try this and see. Let's go out of the settings and let's actually. I couldn't select all of them, so I'll just delete all of these. Let's see. Shift delete. So shift delete. Oh my goodness. Okay, right clicking is more quick. Hopefully we won't get any more files. Why would I want a file for them? Because when I had audio, I wanted audio files. There, and now we can see that these are the ones we have. So if I do now F4 and I select this, it's still made the file and it's still sounded. That's so annoying. Didn't we save the settings? So task settings, notifications. I did uncheck this. So if I go to something else now and go back here, it is unchecked now. So let's go back into it. Now they are unchecked. So what on earth was the other one we did? Task settings, general notifications. That's where we are with the sounds. Yeah, but what else did I change? The saving. Was it like, oh my, advanced? No. This is so annoying. Theme integration, past settings, main window, clipboard, history, printer, advanced. No, I didn't look at any settings like this. Well, let's at least, as long as it's quiet, I'll move it over here and we'll test it again. It's quiet. It made an image, saved an image, but it's quiet. So I don't want a million blips on stream. That's too annoying. And I don't want it off stream either. So minimizing it, and I'll have a million images. I'll look at that later. Thank you, this one, for telling us this. I guess we should click here. I am logged in, so let's continue. Now we can screenshot things without it saying blip.
You still have the capability to go back in as admin and do whatever you want. Admin has the privilege to run whatever they want. So again, take a peek at those. Take a look at the file paths that are included. You'll see just, again, this specific path statement, you're going to see just two components. And you're going to see program files, and you're going to see Windows. And when you look at program files, somebody's going to think, well, what about programs x86? Well, the variable used in that statement covers program files and program files x86. And if you don't believe me, which you probably should at least trust but verify, you can try that in the forthcoming lab and see if I know what I'm talking about. Last but not least, we are going to enable the application identity feature. So we're going to open AppLocker in local policy settings. We're going to enable the defaults. We're going to enforce them, and then we're going to enable the service. And then, of course, we're going to test it to make sure that it worked. And that's, for this level of complexity, that's all there is to it. Okay. made it to our first lab.
So did something happen there? Did it hop? Did it just...
There is to it. Okay. Made it to our first lab.
So I wasn't looking, so I didn't see.
We're going to kick the tires on AppLocker. I want to show you a couple things. Hang with me, if you wouldn't mind, real quickly. I want to step through a couple critical components, and then we'll turn you loose for both a bit of a break and some time to play around with AppLocker. Once again, my taskbar is being silly. Let me see if I can make it work. Okay. Couple quick things. So I'm in my class VM. Oh, this kills me. Stop. Sorry, I'm angry with my taskbar. I can't actually see my taskbar, which is a tiny bit challenging. Nobody move. Okay.
So, just a sec. Kids knocking on the door. Yes, love. What's that idea? Yes, it's a zero. It's poo. It's not any peas, it's poo. Vad vill du älskling? Ska du verkligen äta flera mat på en gång? Vill du det? Du har varit vaken sen klockan är. Fast du har ätit dem väldigt snabbt tycker jag. Men är du hungrig? Ja, för om du vill ha fullt för att du går, inte för att du tror att du behöver mat. Det skulle vara olika saker. Det är då man ska titta på olika saker. Så det jag brukar göra då, det är att dricka lite vatten. Och då får vi fixa det. Ska jag hämta nytt vatten till dig? Jag tycker vi väntar till klockan 12. Klockan 12 får du lunch och det är spaghetti, okej? Det är inte så länge till dess. Vad säger du? Jag förstår det. Vi får fixa det sen, Labban. So it's just 10 and one of my kids wanted lunch already. I thought, oh, well, we'll do that a bit later. So, let's see here. I managed to stop it when it was all black.
Angry with my taskbar. I can't actually see my taskbar, which is a tiny bit challenging. Nobody move. Okay. Clever workaround. In any case, okay. So here we are, WinHDD. First thing I want to do is talk about the labs. The labs are on GitHub, which is super cool. So those are available to you today, tomorrow, 3 weeks from next Tuesday. and they are regularly maintained and updated, easily accessible, which is pretty awesome. So you don't have to worry about losing access to the VM, for example, losing access to the labs. Even if you don't get through all these labs today, no harm, no foul, you can circle back tomorrow and into next week, whatever. You'll also find that there are a bunch of additional labs available to you on the GitHub. We're not hiding labs from other classes or components. You can see them all through the GitHub repo, which is, again, pretty cool. One thing that I want to do first is I want to open File Explorer. I want to go to C drive. You're going to see that there is an intro labs folder. And I have no idea how old those are. I guess I do by looking at date modified, but those are probably old. So I want to nuke that directory. I'm going to delete that directory. I said I'm going to delete that directory. Thank you. Now that that directory's gone, I'm going to rub the lab update folder. Oh, wow. Moving right along, I'm going to launch, not rub, launch the lab update folder. And assuming I have internet connectivity, that's important, then it is going to reclone and recreate that folder, and it will be brand new and up to date. I usually make up a word at least once during a presentation. That was a unique entry in any case. So we then should see that as recreated, repopulated, and you can keep doing this. You're not time limited tomorrow, next week,
Okay.
etc. You can redo this and then update.
So they're just cloning the repo, I guess. Let's actually start the VM. It should be unzipped now. Nothing running anymore. So okay, let's make a new one. So let's open, and then we have on D and virtual machines, and this one should be unzipped now. So the tip was to disable automatic updates. Let's just first open it and kinda like I'm not good at this really, but it's not running yet. But let's see if we can like snapshot it before. Right, we can. So we can take a snapshot before we even start it, so we don't have to hurry. That's kind of right. So before start, right? So now we have, even if we're not quick enough, we can just do it again, right? So now we should have a snapshot here that we can go back to. So it sounds like all thing that we would have to go in there manually and disable the updates. So yeah, let's say we moved it. VTXEPT is not supported. Yeah, so we'll probably need to fix that, because then also I think the labs are very simple, so I don't really feel a need to do them. But I will still want to start this, and I think they had lots of debugging in their Discord, and I think they'll have the Discord up still. So let's see. So this is the tech support one. They had this is a chat. So people have sent stuff since yesterday. What? Okay. Resources. Windows terminal affected. Not affected. Yeah, so they have added the second one here too to their links. and the day 2 here, and then I think googling might be better. But they were saying things like, oh, there's a guide for if you have this. But I mean, my machine is not exactly everybody else's. Disable Windows optional feature, online feature. For what? Hyper-V related commands. Yeah, so it's the nested virtualization that we have to look at. Proxmox. So people are running different things, of course. So we could search for this, or we could just skip the lab. And I could do that later if I want to. Maybe we should just go through. You know, people have asked a million questions here. Million questions. I could just ask one now too, of course, if I wanted to, but So we should probably just search for the. Here's the GitHub too. We could click the GitHub link. So, no. I don't think this is what we want to do on stream. You're on my screen at least here. So let's skip the Discord. Let's actually close that one. And let's Google instead, because that's a quick Google, and then I will just skip this if it doesn't. I don't find anything at once. Yeah, and just double checking that it's a C there. I'm just typing the error message there. So let's search for it.
Age says,
What up, Soph?
I'm great. How are you, Age? Welcome back. Hope you're great. Lots of work? I'm just seeing if we can run these labs or if I should just skip it for now.
Still on the mend.
Okay. So I hope you're feeling better. So you're not, are you working or not? Taking it easy?
Not currently. Starting physical therapy tomorrow.
Okay. That sounds good. If you're not fully okay, you should take it easy. So what happened? I might not have heard. What happened? What are you on the mend from? So I'm not sure I want to look at this on stream.
Fell off of a loading dock. Landed on a pallet square in the middle of my back.
Oh my god, that's horrible. Ouch. Oh. You have to be more careful, not falling off loading docks. Ouch. Oh.
It's fine. No broken bones?
Yeah, but it sounds very painful still. I hope your back is okay there. Even if it's not broken anything, you can still...
It's not great.
Yeah.
Ha ha.
Translated from Tagalog.
Ouch. Yeah, I hope you feel better soon. How long ago was it that you fell? I imagine you're all blue and green all over. Ouch.
A couple weeks.
Yeah, okay, so then if it was a simple thing, it would have already been okay.
The worst is over.
Oh, good. But still, yeah. Ouch. Sounds really, really painful. Okay, so the link didn't work.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. It's my well, I was, should I say 13-year-old, 14-year-old? It's my youngest birthday. It's 14 today. So and also both kids had the last day of school Monday, so it's like odd times. Also, my oldest, he finished like the basic school in Sweden. That's
so
mandatory. He's not been able to do the school, but he still had this pressure on him. So now it's more like optional school. So we still want him to continue actually trying to get outside the house is where he's at. So yeah. So goals for him is like go drive through McDonald's. That's hard level difficulty for him. Yeah. So, but we'll probably I'm going to try to get him outside today to go drive through Max. Yeah, I don't know if you have Max. I think it's Swedish. It's like higher quality than McDonald's and stuff. I don't know. Maybe it's Burger King the Swedish. I don't know. Anyway, so he usually, since he's autistic, he kind of likes the same thing. So he would probably want McDonald's anyway. We'll see. But the birthday boy gets to decide, so we'll see.
Little steps.
What happens.
I'm glad to hear it.
Yeah. Yeah, so anyway, we were to drive through. So he's been outside 2 times this year now, which is progress at least. That's what he did all last year. Or 3 times last year, actually. After COVID, he got kind of like isolated. Yeah. He was before too, but then he got like really a problem. Simply that's. So this link didn't work, but maybe we should just search there though. Let's grab what I searched for, the error message. Let's search their site. See if this is a search field. It was. There was no search button. Running nested VMs. So yeah, first of all, maybe I should just check the version here. So 17 Pro is the version I have. So 11 doesn't sound very maybe we should put 17.
I'm gonna freshen up and play my bass. Nice catching up with you.
Yeah, do that. Yeah, and I hope you feel better soon, Age. And have a great time playing some bass. Will you be streaming? So I can... I wish that Windows had better audio control, so I could say like, oh, for this sound from this window, I want it to output
I might as well.
to these, you know, and oh, I want the sound from Aegis stream to go into these, so I can put that in my other ear, you know? Why can't we do that? Can we do that? Is there a program to fix that? Yeah. So I could listen to your music while I'm streaming, but I don't want the music in my stream. I'll have to look at that later. So I might pop in there later. We'll see how long you'll be streaming and how long I'll be. So thanks for coming in there saying hi, and I hope you feel better soon.
See ya, age of 1 treb, age of 1 woman.
Big hearts. So I think that this might not be worth taking the time to dig into, since the people they were kind of saying that don't dig into this yourself because we have a guide. So I could just send a message in their Discord anyway. I'll probably do that now, and we'll continue with the Discord is the most annoying program. You can't even drag the line if you don't minimize it first. So I was thinking I might not only have things here that I want to share, you know. But this was a new one I joined, or rather I was in the Antisyphon one, but I didn't really even know what it was. But I had some time I joined it. I'm just saying, I get the error. I heard a guide mentioned question mark. because Googling was not like do this, do this. I have Win 10 and VMware 17 Pro. No, that was it, I think. Let's check VMware again. I bought VMware. Well, that's more numbers to it, but yeah. Workstation 17 Pro. There. So question sent. We'll see if they reply. There. Maybe I should have it up still. Yeah, right. We won't be. I'll have the notes up on the screen. So there's no screen really that's not in use. Let's put it over here anyway. I'll have to survive not seeing the preview of what screen I'm actually on. Yeah, so the AppLocker lab here, I imagine he will be going through it, and if he won't, we can still look at the lab notes. So here we have AppLocker. So let's just look at this one. Let's move these. That's the AppLocker one. So these are the instructions, and this is not like something advanced. Also, I might just add these into my Obsidian, the links, as I have these notes for this. Images 1? Why on earth? Why they're not in the same one? Well, this is the one we're doing now. Yeah, probably moved these things here. Yeah. I just made this one yesterday. So let's make a new folder called labs, and let's put the files in here. So let's see, we have, let's switch here. No, here. So AppLocker intro class. So this is probably the ones for here. Let's just be basic. And what's attachments? This images, right? So we will need that too, not just this file, MD file. So this is like the images for that. So maybe we want this. The question is, maybe we should just clone the whole thing. Right? So it was intro class files, tools, intro class, which is kind of odd to me, but so let's just get the URL. Should we PowerShell maybe? So where do we want it? and I can't see what screen you're on, so I might click several times to make sure you're on the right screen, which is currently the left screen. Yeah, so my obsidian is on D column. So then we have public. Do I really want it there? Well, let's actually so like let's make it temp here. Also, we get an output from there. Okay. This is so funny that we can't see anything. Very, very odd PowerShell. I mean, I'm not using its commands, I know. So can you get like a list of all the aliases? So Alice and Dare, what do they really do? Because I think you probably get child item. So I was thinking that you're probably supposed to forward it, pipe it to something in PowerShell to get a nicer output. So is this? No, this is get content. So yeah, it's a GCI, right? Get child item. And then we get nothing. So we're probably supposed to pipe it to something. I should really learn this. Anyway, this is the place. So let's clone it here. So git clone, and we paste the URL. So then we have all the files locally, so we can just copy the files we want easily. And let's open this one too. Temp, because then I know the ones we don't take, we can just delete them, right? And it was intro lab files, tools, intro class, and then we have the app locker one here. So these files, we want them to be copied. Let's see, how are these named? They're all called clipboard because they're probably doing this in Obsidian. Okay, so maybe we want the file or the directory, but let's call it like 1 because this is a first lab, right? Let's call it 1. I'm just making sure I have the right number of. And then we will see what happens if I drag this to day 1. We get a copy. And day 1 is probably a file. So that didn't work at all. If I drag it to the labs, no. So when I drag it here, nothing happens. So let's show this in System Explorer because we have this. It's just a file. That's what I love about Obsidian. That it's just all files. So I can open the same Obsidian in VS Code also, and in anywhere, and I just have the files there. So this is a labs one. So I'm going to actually move this one here. There, so we have the file, which should have popped it up here in Obsidian, and we can see the whole thing. So we don't have to make detailed notes. We have the full lab instructions in here easily, and whatever they call their images. I just call it images. They call it attachments. Attachments is probably more proper because it's not actually just images that they put here. It's all the attachments. So this is more correct, like. Yeah, I was more actually into moving this one up here and having this called, I think I'll do that, and this one too, and removing this which is empty now, delete, and we'll just put all of the files in here, and let's call this one just one app locker. So let's quickly check through these. We could also have it TTS these instructions if we wanted to. I don't know, still don't know what screen you're on, because I'm seeing if I get an answer there. Maybe we should have this. Yeah, I'll make the Discord window a tiny one, so I can still see what screen I'm on. There. By the way, Obsidian says what CPU use I have, but I'm more worried about it's also 9%. So I'm more worried about the memory use, especially when I have a million tabs in browsers, you know. So that's what probably would crash stuff for me. So I have the TTS installed here for this, if we were to want that. Lots of space in here. We could also switch this one to this mode is probably more pretty for this. So, app locker instructions. Let's see what happens when we do not have app locker running. We will set up a simple backdoor and have it connect back to the Ubuntu system. Remember, the goal is not to show how we can bypass EDR and input products. It is to create a simple backdoor and have it connect back. First, let's disable Defender. Simply run the following from an administrator's PowerShell prompt. Set MP preference. Disable real-time monitoring true. This will disable Defender for this session. If you get angry red errors, that is okay. It means Defender is not running. Thankfully, we have a couple of scripts. Well, they don't say anything about what's in there. We have a couple of scripts that greatly simplify this process. Well, scripts that makes us not know exactly what happens. Please make sure both your Windows and your Linux systems are running. Let's get started by opening Terminal as Administrator. So first of all, I don't think I have this in my notes, and yeah, I can just select this text, but since I changed to view mode here, that I never do really, but it had so much space in there. I'm not sure. It's not that different. Let's go for the normal one. Then I can just click and select the inside here if I want to. But let's select all of it now. So this one, this is a funny thing because I usually don't copy from my notes to my notes. Also, we have lots of things running open here that we don't need to. There. This is Windows, so let's minimize a few things. Linux, here we have Windows, and let's make a Defender one. I don't think I have one. It will tell me if I do. So I didn't have this in my notes. I was kind of sure of that. I'm still not 100% sure, but I think so. And we can just go back to continue looking at this. So this is how I organize things. There. Also, I imagine we will get more things here. Or we might. So let's have it open as a separate one. Thankfully we have a couple of scripts, right? Open terminal as administrator. Calling it terminal. Windows terminal. I'm thinking they mean CMD, right? When you get the user account control prompt, select yes, and open the Ubuntu command prompt. Oh, yeah, and here they have the CMD. So terminal. Well, if you're having trouble with Windows terminals, you can simply start each of the 3 shells. We used by starting them directly from Windows Start button. Yeah, apparently they were there. Here's all the space. Simply click the Windows Start button. Oh my, we have to click Start button. For PowerShell and command prompts, please right-click on them and select Run as Administrator. They say this is for getting started, you know, so I mean, but still, telling people to click the command prompt and for PowerShell and command prompt, please click Run as Administrator. On Linux user, please run the following command: ifconfig. Please note the IP. Yeah, this is what I don't like. Well, it's just kind of annoying with the IPs. Please note that my adapter is called ETH0 and my IP is. Your IP may be different. Please note your IP. Now, run the following commands to start a simple backdoor and backdoor listening. Sudo su. Antisyphon. Okay. Make it an exe. I didn't eat all of my breakfast, so I got hungry now, so I'll better. Funny name, right? Trust me. So they have Antisyphon installed on the Linux there. And this is why it doesn't want to start. Because it's not starting something secondarily like starting VMware in there, it's just the integrated Windows, this H1. I just did something I should have done before, of course, searching. So let's see what this person got for answer. Facing the same problem. solution for me. Okay, let's look at that quickly. Processor settings. So it is checked for me and I can't change it. So meaning that's not solution for me. And of course I have it enabled in BIOS. Memory integrity off. So I'm checking this setting. Enable VBS. So that's, he has it unchecked. So that's why it was unchecked. Let's see here. If you uncheck this one, then you have to check the permission processors one manually. So that's the difference. Let's try this. And now I have it on stream, so I know what I did, right? Not supported on this. Continue without. Well, no. So it didn't help. We saw this command. So this is an interesting post. So I'm going to copy it. Let's paste it in Obsidian because of the formatting. So the labs note, debugging the VM. So we didn't get the formatting though. Whatever, it's just text. They have bold and stuff. That's funny. Yeah, why didn't I get the formatting? Let's try another one. Maybe I didn't do copy. Maybe I did copy text. No, it's the same. So we just have it as text there. That's the thing. It doesn't matter if we have the information. So what was this? I saw a tiny text saying hashcat there, so. Yeah, right. They had, for people having problems, they had a cloud one too. It's starting to get warm in here. It's 30.5 inside and only 34 outside of the window. It used to be 50, so it's soon I will be able to open my window a bit if I want this noise of the cars. So I don't have an AMD because earlier compatibility issues, right? So I never dared to buy anything but Intel. So I don't want to mess with my computer too much just because of these labs. Let's since it's working great, you know. So one thing to mess with the options for this virtual machine. Well, that's fine. And the stuff in VMware. I said I wouldn't spend time on this, so let's not. I can continue later. I just saw there was a PDF for Proxmox there. I'm just scrolling up a tiny bit more because they mentioned the guides, you know. You're viewing older messages. Yes, I know. That's because I want to, but I also want to see the new one here. VMware problem. Here's the usual steps that fix the virtualization error. So I did find it there. Trying to drag the window here. Hyper-V problem. Okay, so here are the guides they were talking about. And I have disabled it opening PDFs. That's why they don't pop up. I was trying to save this time. So let's just jump to present, and I'm going to minimize that, and right, we need to do something here today too. I would like to do this one It opens at 11 every day. So I think this is a short one. The next in the path. But I want to finish at least day 1, right? And this is just 1 hour in. So let's quickly actually watch this again.
Which is awesome. Once we've done that, I'm going to launch the labs component. It looks like I already had open.
Yeah, it's the right.
And I'm going to do Windows key left arrow to split my screen. And then, like I mentioned, you're going to see there are a bunch of different classes available to you, which is really cool. And you can go through these at your own time, at your own pace, should you want to. And these will function with your existing VM. I'm going to go down to Intro to Security. I'm going to click on App Locker, and this will be the beginning of our lab. The first thing I'm going to do is open Terminal as Administrator. As mentioned, hopefully mine works. Let's try it. Let's throw caution to the wind. I'm going to right-click Terminal, run as Administrator, and hopefully that security update didn't sneak in and ruin me. Oh, yes, dodgy bullet. Windows key, right arrow, split my screen, and then I'm going to step through this process. This first piece, disable AV, should already be disabled. Are we sure? We're not sure, so we're going to make sure. Launch terminal. We're going to open Ubuntu or WSL from our terminal window.
What?
I should warn you. Apologies.
Yeah, okay, so we disabled
Open
the update.
Ubuntu or WSL from our terminal window. I should warn you.
This is what
Apologies.
we started reading.
Here. We're going to do basically 3 components for every lab. I'm going to step you through it just really quickly. Just go through it like we're going through it right now. Walk you through key components, key steps. I'm going to turn you loose, generally for 15, 20 minutes, depending on the length and complexity of the lab. You're going to do this on your own. And then when we come back from lab/break, I'm going to walk through this slowly with you together. So we're going to go through it basically 3 times. Short,
okay, so
on your
3
own,
times.
and then a lengthier walkthrough. So this is just a short. Don't panic.
Really don't need to.
You're going to go through this process. This is so cool. This is a monumental recent update. Thank you, John. I don't think John sleeps. I'm pretty sure.
We'll see.
This is a direct note. If you're having trouble launching Terminal as Administrator, don't panic. You don't even have to pester the fine folk in the tech support. We've written instructions. Don't freak out. Don't worry about it. There's a workaround, and it's documented in each of these labs, which is super cool. Once we get into WSL, our Ubuntu instance that's running inside of our ADHD VM, we're going to do ipconfig, check our IP address. This is important. Your IP address is different than my IP address, so to speak. You're going to confirm yours. You're going to pay attention to what that is because you're going to use it in the next steps. We're going to run sudo to elevate our privileges in our WSL to become effectively root. We're going to use MSF Venom. This is super, 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 super important. If you don't change this, it's not going to work so pretty good. You're going to take your IP address and put it in this prompt. You're going to get rid of the brackets.
Okay.
You're going to get rid of your Linux IP and put in 172, whatever. Follow through the remainder of the steps. You're going to open a second Ubuntu terminal. You're going to launch Metasploit console. You're going to step through the process of configuring the exploit multi-handler, which is just hanging out, listening, waiting for the execution of your malicious payload.
Yeah.
We're going to copy that malicious payload from our WSL to our Windows, then we're going to run Trust Me, which is our malicious payload.
First.
And if all goes according to plan, our
multi-use
handler is going to be hanging out waiting for that connection from Windows to Linux. We're going to gain shell. Really, the overarching point is just to prove that we created a malicious executable, that we effectively attacked our Windows box from our Linux system, and then we're going to see if we can stop that. We're going to go through the app locker configuration component. We're going to open local security policy. We're going to step through the configuration that I just mentioned in the previous slides. You're going to pay careful attention to creating the default rules, and then you'll want to review these components so you can see what it is you're doing. We're going to enforce each of these. It's not enough to configure them. We have to go in and say these rules are enforced. Last but not least, we're going to enable the application identity service.
So we could actually have copied the images from
Then we're going to use this command,
instead of making
gp update force from our Windows command prompt in our VM to basically force the application of the policy that we've just changed. Sometimes policy application takes a little bit of time, it's a little bit finicky. Generally, this should immediately apply that local security policy. Then we're going to switch to an alternate user. Remember, right now, we've given a loophole for local administrator. ADHD is a local administrator. So even though we've just applied and enforced this policy, it doesn't apply to you. It doesn't apply to the ADHD account. So we're going to switch to the allow list account. And then we're going to head over to the tools directory, which is full of all sorts of cool things, handful of executables. And remember, is this in the Windows directory? No. Is this in the program files directory? No. Should it run? If all goes according to plan, negative. It should not run. Once we're all done, you're going to want to restart your class VM, log back in as ADHD, and we're ready to proceed. Okay. So
it's always nice to do things because that's better way to remember it.
Yeah, let's do.
But since we don't have it started,
can we do 15 minutes and a few minutes for break? How do I do that? I see a timer looking in the background.
See, he has 20 minutes there.
Yeah, beautiful. So we're going to do 20 minutes overall.
So
Thank
we
you,
can
Ryan.
just
Ryan is awesome. What would I do without Ryan? I don't know. I would look and sound much poorer. In any case, so we're going to do 20 minutes on the clock. I would like you to jump into the App Locker lab. I'm going to go off video and mic, but we're still hanging around. We're in the support channel. We're going to help you through this process. And when you come back, we'll walk through it together, slowly and intentionally.
So I'm assuming there will be some questions about the VM here, probably. Let's just hop forward. There.
All right, welcome back from lab number 1, app locker. Let me find my VM. Okay, so we're gonna walk through this together. If you made it all the way through and it's absolutely clear and you want to get up and stretch or get a snack or whatever, no worries, no harm, no foul. I'm just going to step through the process slowly to make sure we're all on the same page and that everything works and or worked according to Plant Burrito. Don't even say that. It's my drug of choice. In any case, sorry, distracted by burrito comments. Yeah, let's talk about app locker. A couple fantastic questions, conversations in the chat as usual. And one of them in particular, you wouldn't normally implement this obviously in an enterprise environment through local security policy. Most enterprise environments using Windows would have Active Directory, and then you would use the same features functions through group policy. Lots of great questions about how you might protect the service, the associated service application, etc., which is just fantastic. I love the way that your brains are working. One really important piece of this conversation, there are and there always will be some ways to work around this functionality. Remember, once again, we're purporting to get 90% of the way there to make it that much harder for the threat actor and or pen tester to gain access to your environment. And that's really what we're focusing on, is the gain access piece. Of course, in order for the threat actor to interact with the application identity service, they'll have to have access to the endpoint, access to the system. So that's critical. And once a threat actor actually gets on box, if they can get past this app locker application allow listing piece, then everything changes, frankly. But what we're really trying to do is thwart that initial access component. And as mentioned with some of the current flavors of the week month, like bootloader, for example, what we're seeing is drive-by execution, malicious download, execution by an end user, and almost always in those current iterations, that execution is occurring for initial access through downloads or temp folder. And so hopefully it stops the threat actor gaining access to the point where they can then interfere with the service and or additional components. Not perfect, but you get the idea. All right, let's see if we can do this together. Here I am once again, GitHub repo, where all the labs live, under intro labs, intro class, app locker. I've opened a terminal as admin. I'm going to copy paste because that's just so dang efficient, and typing in front of a couple hundred people always messes me up.
Bleeding a bit.
Now, we're going to have you do this every time because we're just that worried that Microsoft might take over and enable your AV. But that's just a precautionary step. This is, of course, not a course directly aimed at circumventing Defender. So we're just going to get that out of the way, make sure that we get what we expect from results. If you see red, that's good. That means AV is already disabled. I'm going to do Control L to clear my screen because I hate a cluttered screen. We're already at the admin prompt. Let's do Ubuntu. I'm good on this one. Hopefully you're good on this one. If not, and you need to launch the individual shell components as admin, you can do that through start. And heaven help me, Zoom just hates my taskbar. I will stop complaining about that, probably. But if you need to, again, you can come over here, you can start typing PowerShell, and then you can run as administrator, or you can start typing Ubuntu and then run as administrator. You get the idea, should you have issues launching terminal. So from WSL, notice we're at the standard user $ prompt. We're going to do ifconfig, or we're going to do IPVRA, or wherever makes you happy. We're just trying to find the IP address of our WSL system, our Linux system running on our Windows VM. We're going to pay careful attention to that address, remembering
space. Kids knocking on the door. Yes, Bubben. Frågan Tom, sa jag. 11 alltså. Så då är det 47 minuter probably. Är du jättehungrig? Då väntar vi tills som jag sa till klockan 12. Okej? Yes. Om en liten stund. 10-12 kan vi tala, va? Jag vet. Om en halvtimme till då, okej? Yes. Jag vill att du ska äta rätt tider och ha rätt tider på dagen. Jag gjorde det. Jag hämtade vatten. Jag gjorde det. Ska jag hämta nytt vatten till dig? Okej. Jag hämtar nytt vatten. Jag hämtade nytt vatten nyss. En halvtimme sedan. Okej. Vad sa du? Jag skulle ju hämta vatten. dig. Jag hämtar vatten nu och så får du mat om 30 minuter. Ja. Är du hungrig på riktigt? Ge också mat. Förstår du inte? Jag hämtar vatten nu. Så får du vänta 30 minuter sen så. Om du är hungrig på riktigt, då är det en annan sak. Men du säger att du inte är hungrig. Kommer jag om 30 minuter. Så fixar vi maten fort. So my 16-year-old who's already eaten twice today he really wants food. So I told him 30 minutes more. So I'm actually going to put a timer on here and make sure I don't miss 30 minutes. So let's see. I had to turn up the light. So it's clock. Timer. Let's put 30 minutes. Though I don't think this is any sound, but at least I'll see it counting down, right? So, there. Yeah, right, you can like add something maybe. Settings. A silent alarm when system sound is off. Yeah, but I've never heard any sound in this one. It says chime. Okay, system sound. Yeah, you might have system sound off. Why would system sound be correlated in any way to this? It should be the ringing sound of the phone. That's odd. We can turn on vibration too. We will hear it now. I hope so. Let's see. So why would it be quiet with the system sound? Because that's not connected at all to alarms, notifications. Very odd. So let's continue watching this. Though it is very slow. So I'm a bit bored.
Of course that mine's going to be different than yours. We're going to note that. Excuse me. I'm going to do Control L again to clear my screen. I'm going to do sudo su dash HD. Control L because I just can't help myself. We're going to copy and paste this once again because why not? And then we're going to go back yonder. I'm going to grab this address, copy, paste. We're going to confirm our syntax. Looks beautiful. We're going to hit enter, and then we're going to be patient for just a couple seconds. Hey, hurry up. What else am I talking about? Wow.
So this is what I don't like with videos.
Okay, so we created our output executable. We
They're
are going to
very slow, and you
directory.
don't want to
make
skip
sure
anything.
it's actually there. Well, tab completion is your
Because
friend to
then
do
you
this. I'm
might
starting
miss
to type TR,
something.
then I'm in tab, so I'm going to type the whole thing. Makes me happy inside. There it is. It doesn't have a zero byte size, which makes me happy. I'm going to now copy this again. TR tab to complete that. To mount C tools, I can also do tab completion. That is the file system for my Windows host, effectively the host meaning ADHDVM. So I'm going to copy trust me to that file path. Now we're going to open another Ubuntu terminal window. We're going to sudo su no zeros ADHD Control L MSF console tac Q quiet. It just suppresses the ASCII artwork. You can omit that tac Q if you're a fan of ASCII artwork. This is old. Yes, we know it's old. We did it on purpose to make this work swimmingly. Boy, howdy.
Though,
right.
What is...
Display version 5, which is a little old. That's okay. Then
I have to check. How did you start this tab?
Quiet. Control L SU open file path.
So
now we're gonna open another Ubuntu terminal window. We're gonna sudo su
okay.
ADHD.
So just tabs
quiet.
like
Omit
that.
Did it on purpose to make this work swimmingly. Display version 5, which is a little old. That's okay. Then we're gonna go use exploit again. I can do tab completion through all of this. I'm super lazy, which I am. Tab exploit multi-handler. Mash enter. Be patient yet again. Confirm the prompt looks good. Now we can set tab complete. Tab complete. No. Yep. Just gotta be patient. Darn it, I was not patient enough. Interpreter. Maybe tab completion is not worth the patience in this particular instance.
So we could just do this on
All right, that's
our
fine.
machine
Be that way.
instead.
First TCP. Set L host. This should be.
Why not
your
do it
IP
on our
address,
machine?
which we captured
You
in the
know?
previous.
Why do it like this?
I threw in a show options just to make sure because I don't trust myself. I want to make sure that all looks right. IP looks right. Payload looks right. Control L. I just love that works through most consoles. Now I'm going to do exploit. And again, exploit is a bit of a misnomer. That multi-use handler is just hanging out waiting for our malicious executable to be detonated and call back. So start reverse handler is listening. Excellent.
Of course, we might mess
Now
with
we should
stuff
be able
in
to
the
go to a
Windows
command
too
prompt.
much.
I apologize. It's a little hard to tell where you are in this. You got to pay attention. Just pretend that this is an entirely different Linux system, right? It's not running within your ADHD VM. Now we're moving back to our Windows command prompt in our ADHD VM. We're going to change to our tools directory, and then we're going to run our trust me executable. And you can see nothing to see. Obviously, we don't really want a nice pop-up for the end user who just detonated our malicious content that says you've been
Wouldn't
owned.
have two
So nothing there.
VMs, so we
We pivot
wouldn't
back to
have
our
the
multi-handler, and we should see that we
problem.
now are have remote access to our Windows system. So step 1 worked. Our malicious executable detonated. We gained remote access. We accomplished initial access through execution of trustme.exe.
That would be
Now,
easier,
let's
right?
see if we can keep this from happening. And we'll go to start typing local security policy, open stead local security policy. Are you inherently impatient like I am? I think that's just part and parcel of what we do for a living. That's my theory. In any case, pardon me, application control policies. App blocker, we can see our 4 different categorical components, all rules set to 0. Looks like we have not done this before. That's good. We can expand this box. Each of our 4 categories are listed under app blocker. I can do create default rules. Create default rules. A bit redundant, that's okay. Create default rules. And as mentioned, I think it behooves you to take a look at these. What is this doing? Fortunately, it's pretty self-explanatory. I appreciate that. Gives us path. Remember, this path will actually prove the policy encompasses program files x86, so that's good. We don't have any exceptions by default. You can take a look. The second, which is, again, path related to the Windows directory. And last but not least, we have the administrator component, which allows the administrator to bypass this as a safeguard, safety net, if you will. And you can go through each of these categories to see, how those look, how those feel.
Yeah, if it's not a GPO.
Now, once again, we've made progress, but that's not the final step. You can see we now have rules associated with each of these categories. We now need to make sure and enforce them. We don't want to miss this step, or this will not accomplish much of anything. So we're going to enable each of those, enforce, 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 say OK. We're going to open services, and I'm going to do run.services.exe. We'll see that application identity is not running. We're going to start that service. Following along, started. We're going to go back to our command prompt, gp update force, which will effectively immediately enforce the new policy that we've just created, again, assuming all goes according to plan. 300 baud modem, that's true. It depends on your perspective, doesn't it? Where have you come from? Going backwards in performance is just really hard. Going forward is totally cool. Okay, so that should be good. Completed successfully. Now we should be able to come over here, click on the little icon. No? Yes? Did I do that wrong? Yes. Okay, go to allow list. We're going to switch user to allow list. I said we're going to switch user to allow list. Don't make me rub the auto update. Okay, ADHD, lowercase. Apologies, I think there might be a typo in the lab component for that. Is this fun or what?
So now we're not supposed to
John
be
left, and
able
I can
to
say whatever I
run
want. Just kidding.
executable.
All right. Almost there. For real. I think I can.
So apparently
Live demos are scary, just in case you weren't aware. You can tell by
this John is the
Someone
one who
with my eye.
usually does this,
Okay.
of course.
We're crying out loud, hurry up. File Explorer. Effectively, we should be able to go any place other than program files. Remember, we're a standard user right now. We are not an administrative user. So we should effectively be able to go any place other than Windows and program files, try to execute something, and it should fail. So we'll go to Tools. Like I said, we'll go to Tools. And then, choose an executable. Putty. There's nothing wrong with Putty. We're trying to execute from Tools. That wasn't supposed to happen. Did my policy not refresh? Dang it. That just figures. Yep, my policy didn't apply. Well, there you go. See, I shouldn't have said anything about doing demos. I wonder... Dare I go back?
Yeah.
Try again.
So this is not really,
Shouldn't need to log off because I should be in an entirely different session. Let's try really quickly on the policy update, and if it doesn't work, then we'll just move on because such is life. That's running. That looks good. Did I screw anything up? Impossible. Enforce. Happy day. Let's go back to. Let's try this one more time. We'll try. We'll do both because why not? Let's try this again. Let us sign out for good measure. Let us not turn on firewalls. Okay. All right. You feeling it? You ready? That's a good sign. I don't know what that was, but yay. Happy day. I mean, I never doubted me. Okay, maybe I did. All right, excellent. So happy day. That worked. No joke. Obviously, this requires some requires some thoughtful documentation, some thoughtful review, approvals in your environment, change management, et cetera, et cetera. But ultimately, if that's all you did from an allow list perspective, it would be significant. And I know that firsthand experientially from having dealt with multiple common variations of initial access through malware that this would have stopped. So pretty darn significant, pretty low effort, relatively speaking. So we'll restart our VM and move on. Okay.
So we'd have to write into
shift gears just a little bit. We're moving on from number one, which was application allow listing, to talking about passwords. Passwords are a thing. You know, it's another one of those sort of phrases that kind of make me cringe, which is the password list. It's kind of like paperless. If you've been around for a long time, you remember that as a pipe dream. And although we've made progress, we're still mostly using passwords. The thing that freaks me out, to be totally honest, is if I don't use my password like 98% of the time, I have other mechanisms, Windows Hello, pins, whatever, then that 2% when I do need to use my password, I'm never going to remember it. This just seems like the ultimate support nightmare. Breaks my heart for help desk folk. Even in the modern world that we live in right now, it might surprise you to know that we still use horrible passwords in enterprise, regularly speaking. I worked a case very recently, and they assigned a vendor account remote control RDP access to a public-facing Windows server, and they said to this vendor, your new password is password1 with a capital P. And they said to this vendor, here's your new user account. Please make sure and change your password when you log in. What do you suppose that vendor did when they logged in with password1? They didn't change it. That'd be too onerous. Password1 is really easy to remember. It took 16 hours, something like that, for the internet to notice this RDP login, to pop password1. Same, similar, horrible, horrifying situation as my hospital story. Threat actors gain access. In this particular instance, looked like access brokers sold access to somebody else. Somebody else paid for Lockbit Black as a service, detonated into that environment, all because they actually handed out a password, password1. It's mind-boggling to me that this still happens. So we need some solutions, and so we want to talk about passwords as a problem, and some of the things that you can pragmatically do to improve the situation. Back to the idea of art of the possible. No silver bullet here necessarily, but minimal effort. I think we can make this better. Password spraying, of course, is a thing. Password spraying is a relatively new-ish thing, at least in terms of the life cycle of cybersecurity. And what we mean by password spraying is effectively taking a large list of users, usernames, user accounts, and a very small list, probably just one, generally, password, and we're going to try that one password against all the different users. We need a way to come up with the usernames, and then we need some sort of tooling to propagate this attack. And we're going to be careful, at least as testers and sometimes as threat actors, we don't want to trigger account lockout. Most corporate environments, you're only allowed to try authenticating to your account so many times before you're locked out. You fail 5 times, 10 times, as the case may be, within a certain window of time, and you're going to have to call tech support. You're going to have to call the help desk and say, I can't remember my password, and go through the process. So we want to avoid that, definitely as testers, and again, threat actors are probably trying to avoid that as a general rule. This is stupid. I mean, this just blows my mind. It shouldn't work. Mathematically speaking, this should not work. I literally did a test, a proof of concept, this was a few years back, for a healthcare organization that was reticent to implement multi-factor auth. They're like, why do we really need this? Is this really important? And so they engaged with me to do a proof of concept. And in this proof of concept, I took U.S. Census data from 2010. At the time, that was the most current published U.S. Census data. I pulled the top 20 first names, top 20 last names from U.S. Census data 2010. I concatenated those into usernames. No harvesting, no enumeration of the customer. I just took U.S. Census, top 20 first name, top 20 last name, and I made up usernames. And then I ran that against this environment using October 2021. I don't remember exactly what it was. Fall, winter 2021, something like that. And I got almost a 1% hit rate, which is insane. I made up the usernames based on some commonalities, and then I used a singular password and got almost 1%. Now, I enumerated about 25,000 user accounts with permission, of course, and that's critical. If they had 5 users, that probably would not have worked so well, but it's just nuts that this works. And again, mathematically speaking, it makes no sense except for the fact, in that specific enterprise, like many, we trained our users, you need to change your password 4 times a year. You need to use uppercase, lowercase, number, and so because our brains work similarly to one another, though we might like to deny it, we taught the users to use October 2021 with a capital O. We might go wild and crazy and say you need a special character, and then they would do October 2021 exclamation point.
Departments.
We've got to stop doing this. This is still a legitimate problem and reasonably easy, potentially, to fix. Does this work? You bet it does. How long does it take? In my previous example, I think time to first compromise in that environment, it probably did take me about an hour to 2 hours while I figured out how to tune Burp Suite and make it work properly, and then ultimately gained multiple account access within a few hours' time against about 25,000 users. And this, again, of course, once I have that credential, then identifying the use of legitimate credentials for access into your environment is really hard. If I got Bob Smith's username and password, and then I authenticate to your environment using Bob Smith's username and password, how do you know whether or not I'm the real Bob Smith? Very, very challenging. And naturally, there are a host of tools that can help you to do this. Crit King and Firefox, we'll talk about a few. This is a password spraying tool. This is called Mail Sniper, written by Bo Bullock. Talk about him and his family heritage very positively in the pre-banter. Very cool tool. And basically it just makes this silly easy. You can grab this tool from GitHub, you populate a user or a list of users, you populate a password, you target a particular mail server or M365 tenant, and then you let it go. And it does the enumeration. It will come back to you with successes, failures. There is some complexity in this process, to be honest. And a lot of these tools will help you manage the complexity. It's not quite as simple necessarily as just spewing authentication requests. And as I mentioned, you do want to be careful about account lockout. You can legitimately perform denial of service attacks by fail off against a bunch of 80 accounts. So don't just. I don't want this to sound trivial or insignificant, but it is not as hard as you might think or as it should be. There's a cool video. Let's see if I have this real quickly. Sorry. Yeah, I have
this in my notes already, I think.
Sorry, my taskbar is goofy again. This is a video. that among other things, walks through the process of executing this tool. Sorry, not this tool, but executing a password spray attack. It's pretty fascinating. And again, if you're unfamiliar, this is a tremendous learning opportunity. And I'm happy to say the result of my U.S. Census data, my MFA, the benefits of MFA proof of concept. I was able to go back to that specific enterprise and say, I mean, come on, look at what I could accomplish in a couple hours' time, knowing nothing about your environment, and they took that as a significant incentive to move towards MFA. So this is just, I don't know, I think this is kind of inexcusable at this point. I think that lengthy passwords are your due diligence. We're going to talk a little bit about MFA momentarily and some of the pros and cons and benefits thereof, but we don't have the margin for error in this wonderful modern day and age to use passwords that are 6, 7, 8 characters long. You just can't get away with it. This is such a simple additional protective measure that it just has to be done. We need to eradicate short passwords from our environment, and we need to take this pretty seriously. And I worked with an organization recently that had really diminutive password requirements in place, but they had multiple layers of protection. They did have 2FA enabled, multi-factor authentication, and not just password, and so they got lazy, and they started to use passwords that were sad and weak, and they justified this by thinking to themselves, but MFA, and then shortly thereafter, they made a misconfiguration and exposed a system as a service without MFA enabled, and once again had a silly password, like a password one sort of scenario, and it took, in that particular took the internet about 8 hours to gain remote access, unauthorized access to a public-facing system just because of a configuration issue. So use good passwords, long passwords, and then of course we hope that you can combine that with some other solution like multi-factor auth. But let's be real, let's be honest, let's take a good hard look at this. If you're going to have MFA, you really need it everywhere. You need it everywhere. Now, that should not stop you from initial implementation. It should not stop you from cherry-picking the most vulnerable services. Again, art of the possible, but just be real. Are there authenticated components, especially public-facing, internet accessible, that can't accommodate MFA? Are there things like EWS, Exchange Web Services? Hopefully those things are deprecated in your environment. Hopefully those are not exposed to the interwebs. But that's a huge if. It's a huge concern. So we want to combine lengthy passwords. We want to combine that with multi-factor authentication. We want to help our organization to understand that this is not the end-all be-all. This is not the end of it. I sincerely have seen enterprises implement multi-factor auth and think, we're done. It is the silver bullet. There's no way for threat actors to get around this, move on to something else. And it's like, oh, please no. Active enumeration, this is important. This is important. If you are going to move forward with multi-factor auth, which you should, then it is important that you're paying careful attention to your attack surface, to the things specifically that are internet facing. How do you do that? Audit of external access, audit perimeter, regular pen tests, or regular penitent, whatever works for you. Thought I fixed that, sorry. The only thing that matters with passwords is length. The only thing. Repeat after me. Move to passphrases. Not this one, because it's just an example. Move to passphrases. Entropy is key. Random. We want a large character set. We want a lengthy passphrase. This is something that you can and should begin to implement in your environment. Teach and train your users. Begin the incremental process of moving from 8 characters to 10, 12, 15, 16 characters, and it will make a significant difference. There's an important bullet point here that may be somewhat counterintuitive. Allow users to use dictionary words. We need to find the right balance between making life simple and or difficult. I heard somewhere, and I can't prove this, it was in a large enterprise environment, healthcare once again, and they had this idea, and I think it was based on reality, but I'm not really sure. They had this idea that almost 50% of the help desk support calls were related to passwords. And for whatever reason, it was a complex environment. There were multiple layers of authentication. It was clinical. It was difficult. It was a little bit unique. But 50% of support tickets were related to passwords. So heaven forbid that you went to that organization and said, we need to make them longer. We need to make them more complicated. That is not necessarily an easy conversation. The fact of the matter is, I think we were not giving our user base enough credit. We could have and should have easily begun to move them, train them. Passphrases aren't that hard. They're not that hard. Again, especially if you have a little bit of education. You don't have to have crazy complexity necessarily, especially for a standard user. At least begin to move that direction. Long is good. Really long is better. And of course, mixing uppercase, lowercase, special, numeric, whatever, also really good. Develop a strategy. Begin to move this direction in conjunction with multi-factor auth for the win. A brief note about 2FA or multi-factor auth. The idea, of course, is something that you know and something that you have. So I know my username, I know my password, and then I have some sort of physical device, my phone, a token, etc., that allows me to combine multiple factors in my authentication process. There's a lot of argument about which is better. RSA type tokens, FIDO tokens, YubiKeys, using SMS on your phone, application authentication through something like a Google Authenticator or a Microsoft Authenticator. And of course, you probably figured this out. My personal bent is the art of the possible. What is feasible in your environment? And if one of these is attainable soon, then do that. Obviously, there are better and worse, and there's a lot of pushback on SMS in particular, and truthfully for good reason. SIM cloning is a thing. SIM cloning is the idea that if you are able to gain credential access to my account, for example, then you might also be able to call Verizon or AT&T and tell them, dang it, I lost my phone. Can you reassociate? Can I get a new phone? Can I get the number associated with my SIM card as an attacker? And then potentially that SMS code would be sent to the attacker's phone, not the individual's phone. This does happen. I saw this happen in a 2-person business the other day, much to my surprise. I'm thinking to myself, this mostly only happens in enterprise environments, targeting high-value, high-profile individuals. Sadly, I don't know that that's the case anymore. But again, is this feasible? Is it a heck of a lot better than no 2FA? Yes, absolutely. Combination of lengthy passwords and application-based or token-based MFA is pretty powerful, Not a silver bullet. We'll talk a little bit more about that in just a second. What about service accounts? You've ever been a sysadmin or an IT or heaven forbid in security and asked the sysadmins?
So, did I miss something, or did he not talk about the last bit there? About attacking SMS 2FA. I think he didn't, right?
But again, is this feasible? Is it a heck of a lot better than no 2FA? Yes, absolutely. Combination of lengthy passwords and application-based or token-based MFA is pretty powerful, Not a silver bullet. We'll talk a little bit more about that in just a second. What about service accounts? you've ever been a sysadmin or an IT, or heaven forbid, in security and asked the sysadmins or IT admins to change service account passwords, you probably got run out of the room.
Sorry, I'll just add it to my notes still, even if he doesn't mention it. So he mentioned cloning sim though. Ask the user to just ask the user to let you in. I can see lots of ways that could be meant, but it doesn't matter much.
We'll talk a little bit more about that in just a second. What about service accounts? You've ever been a sysadmin or an IT, or heaven forbid, in security and asked the sysadmins or IT admins to change service account passwords, you probably got run out of the room. Potentially they laughed in your face. This is a tough conversation to have. A service account is an account that's not intended to be used by a human being. It's not generally an interactive account. It's generally an account associated with running a service, associated with some sort of application or feature or function in your enterprise. And so in many cases, these are highly privileged. Imagine a SQL service account, or a web service account, or a file services service account. High level of privilege. Sometimes, I'm sorry, IT, sysadmin, sysengineers, sometimes we're lazy, and because it's complicated to figure out the proper privileges for a service account, we just make it domain admin. That's the easy button. Sadly, in many instances, that service account's been around since 1997, or 2001, or 2005, and it's still using PCI 3.0 password requirements. Happens all the time. Because it's a service account and because it's doing something critical and sensitive in our environment, probably doesn't have a lockout threshold set. No lockout required. And it's hard to change that password, so we might never do it. Password probably set to never expire. The worst part of this kills me, especially in active incident response. You roll in, you add this conversation. We need to rotate credentials on all highly privileged accounts. Let's talk about your service accounts. Where is SQL service account used? On all our database servers. Okay, can you come up with a list? Nope. This is petrifying. This kills me. Happens all the time, often overlooked. We just can't get away with this. Again, our due diligence. There are ways around this. Root managed service accounts is a possibility. We'll talk a little bit about PAM. There are solutions to this problem. Part of it is just the effort. Part of it is prioritizing this. But unfortunately, this is an attack vector of choice. This is almost inescapable these days. And what we're seeing in the wild, in active incident response, what we're seeing is initial access through some sort of drive-by end-user interaction, often maybe through valid credential use. We see threat actors gaining access to an endpoint, and one of the next things that they almost always do is some basic enumeration of the endpoint and then enumeration of the environment. And if it's Active Directory based, which they all are, the next step is almost invariably the abuse of service accounts through curb roasting process. We've got to fix this. We've got to address this. And the kicker is that this can all be done. Curb roasting is a fascinating attack vector discovered by Tim Medina of Red Siege, really cool guy, cool company. You should check them out. This has been around forever, and it still works because it is part and parcel of how curb roast works in an Active Directory environment. It's not something that can easily be fixed in terms of the technical workflow. And way oversimplified, basically, any standard user in your Active Directory environment can enumerate service principal service accounts. Service principal name is an actual attribute assigned to a service account, generally speaking. You can enumerate and find these service accounts, and then request a service ticket. This is part of normal curb roasting authentication to access an associated service. And as part of the curb roast process, as per this image, the actual hash value for the service account password is included in the service ticket response. Bummer. This is inherent to the feature and function, to the flow of curb roasting. There are some things that you can do about it, but most specifically, you can make it have a great password. If this is a 7-8 character password, heaven forbid, all alpha lowercase, it's going to be a really bad day for this enterprise. However, if we have lengthy passwords with a reasonable degree of complexity, it can help. It can mitigate this process. But wait, there's more. You know, I feel a little bad for Microsoft, just a little bad, to be honest, not a lot bad. I feel a little bad in that a lot of the things that Microsoft has done for us, they do to make our lives simpler. You know, a GUI is kind of handy. Point and click can be pretty useful, and that's just one in a long line, a long list of things that they do to make life easy. Ever heard of a PIPA, automatic private IP addressing, for example? It's the idea, again, once upon a time, that DHCP, IP address allocation in a small business environment is hard. They're probably not going to have a DHCP server, so what if we just make this automatic component that assigns IP addresses within a small network environment? And I think, well, that's pretty nice of them. Thank you very much. And unfortunately, that is another in a long list, a long line of things that are security issues, security problems that seem to prioritize ease of use. And LLMNR, MDNS, NBNS are all broadcast and multicast name resolution solutions that Microsoft implemented, giving them the benefit of the doubt, I guess, to make our lives easier. Name resolution is hard, right? If I'm going to type in, open a browser and type in www.google.com and mash enter, the TCP/IP stack on my system needs to associate that, the browser needs to associate that URL, that name to an IP address. And how does that happen? Well, enterprise environment, you have an internal DNS server, internal resource that provides that address to the client in the browser, and everybody's happy and no big deal. That's why we have IT admins and sysadmins. But what about the home user? What about the small business, which is a handful of employees, a handful of computers? We should make something easier. We should make broadcast name resolution so that one workstation in the small business environment doesn't need to have a DNS server. They can use link local multicast name resolution or mobile DNS or NetBIOS name service. And when they try and resolve a name to an IP address, they can just say, hey, anybody know the address associated with this name? And if it's a secure, trusted environment, oh, sweet, that works nicely, right? If it's not a trusted environment, if it's not a safe environment, what could go wrong? Anybody know the address of the server? And of course, if we are in play or a threat actor is in play, all we have to do is shout quickly and loudly, that would be me, I am your server. No authentication, no validation, and the endpoint would then potentially redirect traffic to me. We combine that with Windows' propensity to authenticate to anything and everything in the background automatically as a ease of use, single sign-on service, and this is just an abuse playground. Responder's a pretty cool tool, been around for a little while. I have seen entire pen tests, not from Black Hills, entire pen tests from other organizations with nothing other than running Responder on an endpoint and saying, we got all your creds, because it's just that silly, simple to abuse in a typical default environment. It's getting better. It's getting better. We're seeing these things disabled and deprecated in newer current versions of Windows, moving away from broadcast, multicast, link layer, NetBIOS. You should not need these things. You really should not. It does take a bit of effort on older versions of Windows to make this go away. Sorry, I feel a little passionate about this one. It's silly that this still works too. This needs to be fixed. Now, this is not generally an initial attack vector. This is not how a threat actor gets into your environment. But once they get into your environment, once they get past initial access and look to do privilege escalation or to pivot somewhere else to move laterally in your environment, this is brutal. More gappy. Currently maintaining the responder tool, even as LLMNR and NetBIOS and DNS Mobile DNS are deprecated and moving away. There's more and more functionality being built into this tool, which is pretty cool. You owe it to yourself to at least take a peek and play with this tool. Be careful how you do it. Do not do this in a production environment, please, oh please, because you will be circumventing potentially multicast traffic in lots of cool and creative ways. But this is something that we need to be aware of and fix as well. Correcting is just another tool. We mentioned it briefly. There's some fun and games when it comes to external attacks. This is a password spray utility, and there's some complexity with attacking a cloud environment, attacking like an M365 or some other cloud-based environment with identification of your IP address, your attacking IP address. And so this is a tool that can help us leverage cloud providers against other cloud providers effectively, leverage things like AWS Lambda or API Gateway to potentially bypass detection and blocking based on our password spray attacks.
So, did we get a link? Yeah, only to responder. We can open that one too, but
attacks.
Let's just search for Red King 2. Am I like blind? It's so many things. Yeah, scrolled so far. Can't read that. Yeah, it's Cred King. You stay ready. So, oh, look, I misspelled it. That's why. I thought so. So we have this one up too. Lots of things to test later, because I want to test all these. But not in SimD, it's too much.
I hate to, maybe I'm overly minimizing when I say this, but I've said a couple times without really thinking about it that the business email compromise is the new ransomware. And I say that in part because I see business email compromise on a continuum. And the conversation often begins with I don't understand how this happened because we're using MFA. I hate to say it, but proudly sucking at capitalism, I've talked myself out of multiple business email compromise engagements because the reason they're calling, they know that they got a mailbox compromised. They've probably found it, reset the password, they moved on with their life, but they're confounded because they had MFA enabled. Did we mess up the configuration? Did we do something wrong? Can you please help us to figure out? They must have got in some other way. The threat actors must have gained access some other way. And then I have to tell them a sad story about EvilJinx or EvilJinx or however you say it. EvilJinx sounds better. And this is just one tool among a handful that are gaining in popularity and prominence. And what this does effectively, it's an evil proxy. And it will effectively mimic a login portal for a great many platforms, from Gmail to Okta to M365 to Duo, etc., 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 and intercept MFA and MFA authentication and session cookies, hijack those effectively. And if I am able to gain access to your MFA session cookie associated with your M365 mailbox, just for example, I am able to refresh that token, and effectively I can stay logged in as you for a mighty long time, potentially permanently logged in as you from a session cookie associated hijack MFA to Duo, etc. Great many platforms. It will effectively, this does effectively, it's an evil proxy, and it will effectively mimic a login portal for a great many platforms, from Gmail to Okta to M365 to Duo, etc., 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 and intercept MFA and MFA authentication and session cookies, hijack those effectively. And if I am able to gain access to your MFA session cookie associated with your M365 mailbox, just for example, I am able to refresh that token, and effectively I can stay logged in as you for a mighty long time, potentially interminably, until you reset username, password, and break active sessions. And it's silly again that this works, but it does. And if I can lure you as an unsuspecting victim to click a link, redirect your authentication through my evil proxy, then I gain your username, password, in clear text, I snag your MFA session cookie, and away we go. And it is honestly just that silly simple. This is getting better. It's gaining awareness. The answer to this problem is a little challenging. There are new forthcoming features, functions of conditional access and authentication restrictions in M365 that make this better. The FIDO tokens, FIDO compliant tokens make this better. Ultimately, I'm afraid to say this, but ultimately, it comes down to, in many ways, teaching your users and or prohibiting them from getting to the initial lure, the initial malicious access. And it is very typical. I clicked the link, I was prompted to log in, I logged in, and obviously as security practitioners are like, why did you do that? You should have stopped, you should have known. That's tough. That's tough. I really, the main takeaway from this is that MFA is not a silver bullet. It is not the end all be all. It does absolutely help, but this is a tough one. Now you know.
That's what we had before.
Let's talk about password managers just a bit.
Asking the user.
This is occasionally a heated discussion. Sometimes as security practitioners, it's pretty frightening to think about putting all your authentication eggs in one basket. Take all of your credentials and put them somewhere. Put them in a hosted somewhere, like a LastPass or a OneLogin, for example. And that, honestly, I relate to that. I have a little fear and trepidation about putting all of my credentials somewhere. And then, obviously, there have been fairly recent issues with some major providers. And you wonder, is this wisdom? And I think, once again, this is a bit of the art of the possible and maybe tending towards the lesser of two evils. And what I mean by that is, use a password manager, which allows you to easily create lengthy, complicated passwords, and then to store them and or invoke them at the appropriate times when you're authenticating, or use 7-character passwords that are easy to remember, or keep all your passwords in an Excel spreadsheet on your desktop. Lesser of two evils. Obviously, I would strongly prefer to use a password manager than you use really sad passwords and or you document them someplace that's super easy to gain access to. Lots of internal debate about, Proton Pass dropped in the chat. This is just a fascinating conversation. What do you use? What do you like? Are some better than others? Yeah, absolutely. KeyPass. KeyPass has been around for a long time. The price is right. It's free. It's not super easy to use. Make a decision. Go for one. Have some conversation with peers, with associated businesses. See what works for you. There are some pretty significant differences between corporate solutions and single end user solutions, and that's important. You have to figure out the requirements for your solution. And I think, I don't know why, this is often overlooked at, as an enterprise security practitioner, what do you provide for your end users? I used to work for a security manager. We would find through internal enumeration or red team exercises or whatever, we'd find users constantly storing their passwords in a file named passwords on their desktop, Word doc or an Excel spreadsheet, and we'd just be furious. How could they do that? And I go to the security manager and say, can we yell at them, please? He was much wiser than I was at that point in time. He'd say, you can't yell at them until you have a solution to offer them. And need to be able to say to them, don't do that, do this. That's something I think is really important, again, for enterprise security practitioners, is to think about how we extend this to Bob, Sally, Jim, as opposed to just focusing entirely on our IT folk, our sysadmins, or highly privileged users. And especially as we get to the next slide and we talk about enterprise solutions, think about if and how you can extend this affordably to your user base. It's a great conversation to have with a vendor when looking at an enterprise solution to say, we want to implement this, but we need access, we need end user feature function for all of our users. Really, an interesting perspective and important, I think, in your overarching rollout. Sometimes you gotta spend some money. Yeah, sometimes you gotta spend some money, and there's just no way around it. Lapse is free. Lapse can be a bit of a challenge to implement, not terribly onerous, but Lapse uses some Microsoft-provided features and functions to manage and rotate local administrator credentials within Active Directory, and I would highly recommend that you take a look at that if you're unfamiliar. Then there are a whole bunch of other privileged identity management solution, or PIMs, or PAMs, or whatever you want to call them, and these often incorporate some very cool, very complex and significant functionality that allow you to manage your passwords. These can be used in a limited feature function just to manage your highly privileged accounts. Sometimes they can, again, be extended to the user populace. In many instances, you...
So that's the timer going off, and now it's audible, which is nice because I've never heard it before, ever. Because I usually have the system audio off, which doesn't mean I don't want alarms for a timer. So I'm going to quickly go make food for my kids, and it's not a long thing, it's a microwave thing, and for me too. So yeah, let's do something like this. And let's put up the text that I'm making lunch. I'll be right back when I've made the lunch. Right, let me check one thing more here. So let's see quickly. I'm just quickly checking in on that we actually have streams running here. Yeah, on YouTube. That was the Twitch one. I'm checking YouTube too. And it seems to be on too. Though there's a bigger delay there. Yeah, the link is actually visible there. Right, so I have a note to myself saying auto mess to YouTube too. So I should probably start that, and I should maybe change the time of my auto messages, because I think they're a bit too often, right? Maybe should have like a number of messages that can be sent, like an array, and just send one of them with a regular interval, so the more I get, they don't get more often coming. We might fix that later. Probably not today. I want to finish this thing, so I'll be right back. So lunchdags killar. Dags att göra lunchen. Vi har köpt någon spagetti till mig. Jag vet, du får maten på. Jag börjar med den nu. Yes, I know. Jag sa en halvtimme. Vad vill du äta med Linus? Okay.
And meatballs. Can you make the meatballs and I'll make the curly fries?
Yes, but det är din toast.
Nice. I want meatballs.
eller vatten på majskrokorna så skulle de ta typ ingen plats alls. Majskrokorna är ju mest luft i. Så det är inte så mycket som det ser ut. Vet du. Så har vi majskrokar? Det är majsluft. Gör dåligt ljud. Okej. Ja, det kan det vara. Jag kommer snart. Eller rättare sagt, Linus är det ju där. So, do they have a call? Let's see. Oh, potential fraud. I had someone calling about my Bitcoin the other day. And I said I didn't have time to talk right then. I think it was the same. So, nothing important. I'm just... since it's my 14-year-old's birthday today, I'm making meatballs with sauce, so it's almost done.
Professor Leda 2R says. Sheep viewers on, web link. Fixerbot says.
Time to do some lock picking.
So, my kid's birthday lunch. Meatballs with sauce, curly fries, and lingonberry jam. And he's got BA too. Bearnaise sauce. So. Because he has so much more fries than I do. So I think I will be able to listen. I will not be able to pick a lock while eating. So I registered. I heard you. It's in my memory. I'll do lock picking as soon as I've eaten. Okay. Also, I'll need to put this phone up there. We can get started with that already, actually. So this phone needs to go up here. It was used as a chat cam for Mondays IRL stream, so I'm starting Arian. So it will be ready. We don't have Arian on the computer yet, so I believe that as soon as I start it will just connect. There. So right now my light broke. So we'll have to fix that. Maybe we should fix that too, the stream. We'll see how much right message. So we'll see how much I will stream, because usually I leave for school, for driving my kid to school at this time, but now school is over for the term, so it's summer vacation for my kids. So this is so good, especially the lingonberry jam. It's this was my favorite food when I was a kid, I think. I should have a bit more spice in the sauce, I think. And that curly fry was stone. We do them in the air fryer, so it's kind of quick and intense heat. So, let's get started. I'll move my notes back to the right screen. And I was just going to type privileged identity management because I did not have that ready. So let's actually put that in the note too. In the let's identity management, right? So, oh gosh, I just wanted to copy this one. I think I Control A by mistake. So I have acronyms here. So let's add this one here too. In the acronyms, no order at all here. It's just random stuff. And I put SQL there because I was like, SQL, yeah, it stands for something, but you know, SQL has just been always SQL, so I didn't really think about it standing for anything, but it's, of course, it's an abbreviation of something. Didn't think of that. That's when you learn things in life, you know, not from studying. They don't know what the abbreviation's for. So, let's continue listening. I I can't scroll down. No, it's this one. Oh, right, I plugged the phone in, that's why. So now go away. Click. There. So, learn. His links are good. It's one of them. I like one password. I've been using it forever. I used to use Bitwarden. The only reason I use ProtonPass now is because of the email address. I've seen a user literally just use their first name as their password. Their name was 3 characters. Actually, I know my dad used my name backwards. Sophia backwards as his password. Like 35 years ago, maybe? 40 years ago. So, no longer as insecure. What's the great? Password XLSX for cyber deception. Yeah, I'm like putting an Excel file for yeah, honey file. Or just a text file. But I'm thinking they might. No one runs code in Excel files by default, right? Allows me to create aliases instantly with my service. All of my emails for every service are unique. That's why you can tell who is getting your data via spam. Oh. I mean, who's like selling your email address or sharing it, or that would be kind of fun thing to do, right? Create logons on 1 million pages and make unique emails for all of them. It allows me to, I can just make on my domain, you know, how many I want. Yeah, so let's continue watching, and I'll make notes and I'll try to eat at the same time. So I'll go back a tiny bit.
Limited feature function, very complex and significant functionality that allow you to manage your passwords. These can be used in limited feature function just to manage your highly privileged accounts. Sometimes they can again be extended to the user populace. In many instances, you can buy features and functions that will automatically manage and rotate service account credentials. Lots of cool stuff. So definitely take a look at these, at least as some potential options. These are much more capable and powerful than a KeyPass, for example, and often are a requirement for a larger distributed business or an enterprise environment. And one of the coolest features about these, or PIM, as built into some cloud platforms, are just-in-time access. And what we mean by that is that if you have domain admin credentials, for example, you have to log into an authentication portal, incorporating MFA, of course, and then you have to check out, for example, sometimes check out with approval access to a highly privileged account. And then generally speaking, the credentials for that account are short-lived. They only last for a certain amount of time, 2 hours or 4 hours or what have you. Very powerful. This is a huge impediment when it comes to dissuading attackers or contesters from lateral movement and or privilege escalation. If all of your domain administrator accounts are protected by a PIM just in time, additional authentication portal, additional multi-factor authentication makes this just much more difficult for unauthorized access. Again, not impossible, but potentially pretty significant. Okay. Before we jump into this lab, I want to take a brief foray. We're nearing the end of our day today. Your troopers, you've been fantastic participants. We're going to walk through the lab really quickly. We're going to set you loose on the lab, and then we'll come back and do it together. And then, time willing, which I think we're doing pretty well on time. Time willing, we can have some discussion. We can have some open Q&A. I don't want to say ask me anything because I'm not as smart as John, so ask me anything easy. In any case, before we go there, I want to just talk briefly about where we've come. We've spent a few short hours together today, and we've talked about a few, I think, reasonably simple things that we can do to increase the security of your environment. And we're going back to MITRE. That's the promise, of course, of this course title, Introduction to Security in MITRE. And I want to think about some of the things that we've done.
Going back
and
to MITRE.
specifically, application whitelifting is just significant. It's just really cool and needs to be done. And you start looking at this categorical component. You start looking at the combination of application allow listing and lengthy complex passwords in conjunction with MFA, and we're taking a huge chunk out of initial access. We are dramatically increasing the complexity of malicious code execution in your environment, which also impacts persistence. Once we move into passwords and PIM, lengthy passwords, securing your service accounts, and we're moving into privilege escalation. And again, we've only spent a couple hours today really talking about this stuff and checking just a couple boxes of things that you can, I think, reasonably low lift, low effort, implement in your environment and have dramatic, significant impact. That's the hope. So let's talk about this lab. I would like to be administrator. I'm a little scared that on reboot I'm going to have security updates applied whether I like it or not. We'll find out.
No. I got something on my keyboard. What is that? I have no idea. So, this is a problem. So I'm going to probably hold space. Let's do it in the editor. I think this is a fact. The best. I'm actually using my spectacles. Disgusting but efficient and tiny amount. So I think it's clean, not between the keys. So let's see, can you paper? I did spill into one of these keyboards. I spilled into the keyboard that this is built from. Let's call it like that. It's just a normal keyboard, which is it's blue. But I spilled just water into a new one. And I just replaced it because the keys, the visible, the keys were worn out, the letters, so it was blue like much more than it should be. And and then I switched to a new one, and I spilled just water. It was like lemon taste, like a bit of bubbles in it, but mostly just water, and it just didn't work anymore. I think it was actually when I opened it and it had been shaken before it got delivered home. So very annoying, because I had to like build those two into one. So the electronics is from the old one, and the surface and the bottom, all the outer bits, are from the new one. But it worked, so that's good. Also, the space key of the old one was doing sometimes 2 spaces and sometimes no space. And sometimes, of course, 1 space, but it wasn't reliable. So I was like, will this work? And it did. So it works perfect, this merged keyboard. But that one keyboard, it's these, cheap, just foil keyboards. Yeah. So let's continue now. My keyboard is okay-ish. I shouldn't eat on my new beautiful purple here. So actually, I have a few notes that I want to move, but don't want to forget there. And I'm half preparing for lockpicking here. Right, so this one needs to be adjusted because I was having it as the robot. There, so we have a camera up here for the lockpicking. There. So were you on that screen by mistake? I don't know. So I'm going to go back a tiny bit because I kind of missed.
And checking just a couple boxes of things that you can, I think, reasonably low lift, low effort, implement in your environment and have dramatic, significant impact. That's the hope. So let's talk about this lab. I would like to be administrator. I'm a little scared that on reboot I'm going to have security updates apply whether I like it or not. We'll find out. All right, see what happens. Let's open our labs. That's going to right. Hey, stop that. I don't use Edge much, and this morning I was trying to get around the automatic opening of whatever this is, MSN or whatever comes next. It's silly how difficult it is to open a blank tab. It kills me. Anyway, sorry. So, password cracking. Stand by 1 second. Sorry, just checking the configuration thing really quickly. Okay. Sorry about that. Where'd the VM go? Come back. Okay, moment of truth. Can I open terminal as administrator?
Also, they wanted to hide their full email addresses too.
I win one more time. That's Microsoft 32,940 of me too, but in any case. So, well, unsurprisingly, you're going to make sure that AV is dead. Administrator console, command prompt, here's your notes in case that you lose this particular round against Microsoft and or they snuck in a security update. You can still get to PowerShell, Ubuntu, command prompt directly from start. Once again, remember you just pull this up and start typing, and then run as administrator, as the case may be. Now, we're going to use a tool called Hashcat. Hashcat's pretty cool. Hashcat is something, if you're new to, you're going to want to come back and play with later. Makes me happy inside. If you've used John, for example, you're going to like Hashcat. It's a little more complicated, but with the complexity comes all sorts of power. It doesn't have to be silly complicated, as we'll see in the lab, but you can nerd out on this. There are like data scientists, Hashcat nerds on the internet.
This is where I kind of started
the amount of time, energy, and effort spent trying to figure out how to use this tool to its full. So pretty cool. So we're using a slightly older version. The coolest thing about Hashcat, one of the coolest things, is it used to be very unique in the utilization of graphical processing units. Hashcat will use your video card, your GPU. It's looking for a discrete GPU, meaning not onboard, built into your motherboard, to take advantage of a functionality that, oddly enough, is basically made to do functions and features in rendering video and rendering graphics that also just work beautifully when it comes to repeated calculations for password guessing. Think about the idea, how many CPUs or CPU cores do you have on your system right now? Maybe you have 4, 8, 12, 16, using an i7, whatever. So you've got a handful of processing cores related to your primary Intel or AMD chipset, at least from a more legacy perspective. If you have a GPU, a discrete GPU, something like a modern rendition of an NVIDIA GT 4000 series has somewhere just north of 6,400 CUDA cores. 6,400, I think it's 6,440 something-ish CUDA cores that are specifically designed to do complex math calculations. 6,000 plus. Holy biscuits. That's huge. That's insane. And we can leverage, Hashcat can leverage that functionality to do monumentally quick password guessing. We're way beyond 300 baud modems. Yeah, there you go, 48, 10,000. I had no idea, honestly. I knew it was a lot, but only recently did I fall on my chair when I realized we're talking about thousands and thousands of CUDA cores and some other specific cores, but CUDA specifically designed for the complex math calculations. Incredible. And so investing in a good gaming rig, password cracking rig is probably important. Probably a good tax write-off. We're running this in a VM. You probably don't have, generally speaking, a discrete graphics processing unit assigned to your VM. In some instances, I suppose you might, but that's pretty unusual. So we've kind of tweaked this to make it work in your VM. Now, this is not ideal. Obviously, having dedicated hardware is pretty significantly important, but we staged this to work and so that you can experience this tool and some of the features and functions. And then if you're going to get serious about this, then consider the GPU thing and or some cloud-based resources as well. All right, sorry, side note. So, Hashcat, slightly older version. We'll take a look at this at length together after you do a walkthrough momentarily. This is kind of important. I think that this is not specifically necessary in your lab environment, but we're going to do it for good measure. Hashcat has this thing called a pop file, and for the sake of efficiency, every time you crack a password hash, we'll talk about what that means in just a second, Hashcat keeps a record of that, and it will not crack the same hash twice. It thinks to itself, why would I do that? And it thinks a little bit for you, and if you're not aware, then if you crack a hash, you see the output, you're like, yay, it's password 1, and then you come back a month later and you use the same system, unknowingly you try and crack that same hash, and Hashcat does nothing, because it's like, hey dummy, I already checked the pop file, you did this before, I'm not going to tell you again. So cleaning this up is pretty useful, recognizing that it does then sort of clear your cracked hash history. So that's just a cleanup step to make sure that we're ready to go. We're going to move to the Hashcat directory. We're going to then use this particular rule.
So let's move this one up. And password cracking is the current one. So we're going to have a million ones. What I was thinking was, did it have anything on this? Yeah. So this is just a CD. So remove all old password is kind of interesting. And I don't have this in my Hashcat notes, I believe. I'm sure. So in case we would ever want to do that, so Hashcat will be on, let's see. I have more notes on other places, unfortunately. There's a bit of a mess somewhere, some places. So there. Put pod file. R. So old correct passwords. It won't redo correct ones. There. There's a food between me and the keyboard. That's my excuse for mistyping things. So yeah, so we have lots of stuff here, Bill. We'll see if there's something else we want to make notes on, but what we want to do is to add the number 2 here, and we have the files up here. Let's actually open the labs one in Explorer, and let's keep these 2 up. So well, they could be like this.
0x497616 says, "Hi, fix it."
Hi, welcome back. How are you? So let's see here. I have these. Let's see, intro class, and this is called
I'm
password
good.
cracking. Great. There it is. So let's into the labs, and we'll actually not copy this one, but let's just move these here and hope they have relative file things. Yes. Let's actually compare these files. Yeah, they're the same.
I broke my nickname on Twitch and can't change it back in 2 months. Twitch does not allow it. D.
Okay, so that's why you added an E. What?
It
You
was
were
Ivan Lynn
Ivan.
86.
Okay. Because I noticed that you were not new, but I was like, I know there was one person below the numbers. Okay, so you're Ivan. Welcome back, Ivan. Now I know who you are a bit more. Right, so we have just copied this in here. We can rename it in here too.
Now at hex UTF-8.
Oh.
0x497616 E equals Ivan D. Translated from Italian.
Cool. So this is the current lab that he's doing here. The images are not found, meaning where are the links? So this one has it and this one doesn't. So what if we make this actually source mode? So I'm very interested in why this happened. because we moved these in here too, the images, and there should be no, I changed the wrong one. This is the one. Okay, so I changed the name of the wrong one. Let's do 0 for this one so I don't do that again. I was like, what? So this is odd. So this one has broken links, right? So the only thing, why don't they work, by the way? Because this one is attachments clipboard. And what about the links in this one? Oh, they're probably working. I just switched mode to see the source mode. So now they're working. I was like, why are they not working? They were. They were. Good, good. So we have the automatic, the lab here, so we don't have to make notes on it, which is nice. And now we can make a link from this document to the lab. So we just do password cracking there. So we have a nice link to the lab. Maybe we should do that for this one too. There. Alright, how was the format here? There's a pipe between the name. This works. And there's a pipe too. Yeah, so I think I made parentheses once, and that's not necessary then, because we can just make a pipe. Good, good. So let's continue looking. And I will finish my food too. So today I noticed this actually 2 days ago when I was checking who was online on Twitch. I noticed that this Antisyphon training, which is only Antisyphon on Twitch, was online. And I noticed this course and I kind of hopped in at about this time. It is a 4-day course, 4 hours each day. And it's, I don't need to know more about hashcats, I think, but there's lots of like blue stuff that I don't know, and I really need to know more about MITRE, and yeah. So I'm learning stuff from this, which is good. So let's continue, and also it's good to watch a video while I'm eating.
And
perfect
the
timing.
command, sorry, we're going to execute hashcat. We're going to define the
only one curly
attack type. We're going to define the hash value. We're going to do a straight attack here. This is the one thing that if you've used some others, like if you use John is super simple, super easy. When we're using hashcat, we actually have to tell hashcat what kind of hashes we're giving it. So this is a little bit of extra effort. You will learn how to do this. The help that's built in, which we'll look at when we walk through it together, is fantastic. They have great website resources, so you'll see this as we go through this process. We're going to start with NT hashes, which is TAC M1000. We don't have to use rules, but rules are ways to mangle words. So in this case, we're going to use incisive leet speak rule, and this is where you can get all nerdy and geeky and write your own rules. And what rules do is, if I give hashcat a dictionary word, let's say, why don't you try password? Then the rule will mangle that, and what I mean by mangle is it will say, okay, you gave me the word password all lowercase. I will try password with an uppercase P. I will then try password with an uppercase P followed by an @ symbol instead of an A. Then I will substitute the O for a 0. You get the idea. So we can build out these complicated rules, which are very cool. They can extend our dictionary list significantly with very little effort. So invoking hashcat, attack pattern, hash value, invoking a rule which we've already provided for you, which you don't necessarily have to use in general, but it's pretty cool. We're going to feed it a list of hashes, and then we're going to feed it a dictionary list of words, and we're going to let it rip. And obviously we stage this to work relatively quickly for you, but you should pretty quickly find that hashcat can crack your passwords. What do you mean by cracking a password? I'm so glad you asked. The process of cracking a password effectively is saying, hey hashcat, these are NT hashes, and I think the password might be some permutation of the word password. Go to town. And then what hashcat does is it takes the word password, it hashes it with the NT hash algorithm, and it compares it to the hash we provided. And if it's a match, then hashcat goes, oh yeah, guess what? It's password, or it's password1, or it's capital P. You get the idea. So basically what we're using in this scenario is GPU emulation. In real life, we'd be using an actual GPU probably, to use all of those GPU cores to rapidly calculate hashes based on our word list and based on the hashing algorithm, and then compare that to the values we provided in sam.txt and see if we find a match. Pretty cool. We'll move on to MD5. Sorry, one more configuration check. Come back to him. Move on to MD5, go through effectively the same process. You'll notice that this is different, of course, because we're defining a different hash type. And again, this shouldn't take too long. I had just a tiny bit of trouble in my VM with that last portion finishing. I had to actually Control C at the end, escape a little bit, so you might have to play around, but it should work. It should work all right. And okay. So I think we're doing pretty well on time. Let's yeah, this is not terribly lengthy, so I think we've got 20 minutes on the clock. I think that'll give you enough time to step through this and get a little bit of a break in, and then once we come back, we'll do a slow walkthrough of this lab together. And then I think, again, if all works right in the world, I have a little bit extra time for some Q&A, or if you want to revisit an earlier lab or play with something else up till the 4 o'clock hour while we still have some support, we can probably accommodate that. So let's jump into this lab. We'll put 20 minutes on the clock, and we'll come back together and walk through it slowly as a team in just a bit.
So while this lab was going, since I just joined before, I started watching it from the start. Let's see now. Oh. Yeah, so let's actually not do this lab. He will go through it again here at the end, as he did with the previous one. But before we start it again, yeah, so I was just going for getting these back. So what's this? This is one of the people from this place. They've been talking in chat for 20 minutes here that we missed. Might be good links. There are so many images in their chat. Nothing here. I'm not going through it all. Anyway, is there anything else I want to do? I'm thinking that how many of these do I really have up now? So let's move these two to the end. So that's one of them again. We'll have to do this too. Let's see, what time is it? 12:48. My kids just got lunch. Let's of course. There's not much more on this one. So
recently I registered on Treehackum. Probably I'll try to do some stuff as well. If I have enough time, I'll buy a subscription.
Yeah, and of course start with the free stuff before. There. So I think Try Hack Me is good, but mostly because I need some kind of like, I don't just repeat the same start information a million times. You usually do that if you get different sources, you know, that you have repeating information, and this way I can like know that I don't repeat too much at least. So that's kind of nice to stay at one place. So but when I've done this, like the pause here, then I'll probably, I don't know if I'll try hack the box too, or what I'll do. But definitely, I'm going to continue. I just started with Portswig. I did one stream where I did this at the end. And it was very like simple, not hard things, but still you learn, you know. Simple problems that you just had hints from the text before. So that was nice, and I think it's all free. Yeah, so you can't see much without logging in. We could log in. Yeah, I shouldn't have used that email address. I just made another one. I have a com address now. fixit42.com.
Good long password.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually use Firefox's, so they're just random letters. I think that's good enough. I also have a password on Firefox, so I can't look at the passwords, without giving a password. So if I were to click, well, this one, let's do it and hope it works. It says enter your primary password, and it's also a random one, but only I remember that one. Yeah, so hard password. But what I was going for was, now let's click this link. So yeah, so this is what I was doing. We just started with the only one that had apprentice. All the others were like a bit higher level, I think. And they have several paths here. And I think this is all free. So I did the apprentice one first.
Yes, I've started using random passwords as well, because my email and passwords were leaked from some accounts.
Yeah, I've had that too. I think it was maybe LinkedIn long ago. If you go to this page, where you can see all the leaked stuff. Yeah, what was it more? It was something. Yeah, this one. I'll do this one too. And there's one for PowerShell too. I have a link to. So I should do those. And those are all free. So I'll go through that. Maybe that's easy. I don't know. It's supposed to be Bash, I think. I don't know. I haven't looked at it yet. So let's at least do this one. And yeah, so let's first check this quickly, because I have.
There is Mozilla Monitor that can show it, or some Google service when you have Google One subscription.
Oh no. It's something like this. Have a baby pwned. This site. You can just enter your email address here and you get a list of all the leaks. So if I do my baby things one, an old one, email address that I used for a long time. So I get a lot of hits here. So 2018, LinkedIn here, 2021 and 2016. And some others that I don't really know. I've had a login, so there's probably something else. Adobe, that was probably 2013. So they had the passwords from here. This is kind of interesting that you can see where they were leaked, and how. And I also had emails sent to this address with "this is your password" in the message line. That's kind of cool, right?
153 million accounts leaked. It's crazy.
Yeah. 167 million names, usernames, and MD5 hashes from this one. I don't know what that is really. So 42 million email addresses. So it's not strange if you keep this, if you use the same password all over the place, they can just log in anywhere if they would want to. I don't have anything interesting. For the password that was leaked, I used for sites I didn't care about, which included LinkedIn then in 2016. Probably. Yeah, so renew passwords for sites where you care about the data.